Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 8th, 2021, and we're here for a town board and a special CDA meeting. As always, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Tim, can you please take the lead?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Frank, do we have someone from the
Yes.
Faith Committee?
Yes, we do. In keeping with our tradition of having an invocation, a faith-based invocation today, we have with us Pastor Andrew Montero of the Community Baptist Church in Riverhead. Thank you for being here, Pastor.
Thank you
Welcome,
for the honor.
Pastor.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come before you as the town of Riverhead. We know that you are the God of all wisdom. And Lord, we are asking for you to guide our elected officials, to give them wisdom in making decisions that are best for our community. We pray just for health and for your hand on our community and those here. We pray and seek your face, Lord, for your answers and your grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
Pastor.
you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin our meeting today, I would like to recognize some remarkable individuals. First, this Sunday, September 12th, 2021, is the start of Direct Support Professionals Week. Direct Support Professionals, also known as DSPs, are the primary providers of publicly funded long-term support and services for millions of individuals with mental health issues and disabilities. DSPs are vital members of our community, supporting their families and providing individuals with mental health issues and disabilities the ability to live successful lives in their communities, avoiding extended care and costly institutional care. On behalf of the entire town board, I am pleased to present this proclamation to the East End Disability Associates. We are grateful for everything that you do here in our community, and I know Lisa, we have spoken a couple of weeks ago. She's here, I thought I saw her. Yeah, well, we're gonna start a disability committee. I know you're starting the outline, and I think we should have that. I believe in the past, the town did have one. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to reach out to some of the founding individuals, but I think it's important that the RISE and East End Disabilities pairs off with us, and we can work together and maybe advocate in Albany for you, to support you. Where is, Devin, you have
Yes.
the proclamation?
I do, I have it here. So we're going to call forward a couple folks from the East End Disabilities Associates, and then we have the proclamation supervisor for you to present to them. Okay? So, Lisa Meyer-Fertel, Camden Ackerman,
You guys want to come down?
Marisol Vargas, Jimmy Reed, and Michael Hutchins. Chip.
Don't go too far away.
Come on up, everybody.
Can you come up with us, you're the founder of the organization? I'll let you come here.
Good, good. The more the merrier.
Okay. Yes, come on, stay there. Okay.
They see me all the time. They want to see you guys.
Okay, everybody ready?
Thank you, Lisa. You want to hold the proclamation? Want to hold it together?
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for everything you do. And we'll finish up where we started. Okay.
Congratulations, everybody.
Okay, next, regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, it was my priority to ensure our senior residents who were the most vulnerable to be able to stay at home and receive the necessary items, food, medication, and essentials that they needed. And we started the Riverhead Safe program. Very, very successful program. And I want to thank Donna Sadowski, who was so instrumental night and day, coordinating all the stores and making sure we have a program and we put it online. And today I'm pleased to recognize Fernando Quinones, the manager of Gala Food Fresh Farms in Riverhead. Without hesitation, Bernie and his staff patiently accepted and filled hundreds of orders from our seniors and those residents who were compromised. Going above and beyond to help our community during this unprecedented health crisis. Thank you, Bernie, because I know you assigned personnel in the mornings to address this. And the seniors who called you, some crying, thanking us, thanking you for providing this service. And we wanted you to come down, Bernie, and present you with a proclamation for your efforts and your help in this community. Yeah.
You guys want to come forward?
Don't we have the others?
We do, we have two others.
Yeah, but you coming back down? I guess so. We want to thank you so much because we know the efforts, and when things got hard, you extended the hours also for deliveries. And we had great. On behalf of the town and the town board for your efforts and for working with us so hard. This is well
Thank you.
deserved.
Appreciate it. Anytime.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you. We have to read it, okay, hold on. I have to get the, just give me 1 minute.
We don't have a mic down below, so she can't read it from down there.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I should have called them both together, but that's it. So what do we have here? And then we have together the,
Number 5?
yep. Well, Bernie was instrumental in filling the orders. There was 2 delivery essential workers that worked for us for the police department that completed those orders. And that is Beth McCauley and Kelly Daniels. Daniels has since retired, and both Beth and Kelly, they picked up the orders every day, made sure that they were delivered to our seniors. And the most interesting order that we got was somebody ordered, who was a gardener, ordered 20 bags of mulch from Lowe's. They didn't appreciate that order, but they delivered it. And Devin, how do you have, then we have members of our senior center, Kelly Tucci, and you want to read out the names
Sure, I
as
can
you
do that.
give out the certificates?
Sure. Okay, I think we're going to call everybody that we want to acknowledge, and then the folks that are here can come forward. All right, so the senior center employees that we're going to present with a certificate of recognition today are Kelly Tucci, interim director of the Riverhead Senior Center, Carl Brown, Austin Curvin, Donna Danowski, Patrick Foley, Monique Goff, Ethel Griffin, Christina Gradowski, Deborah Hansen, Charles Klein, Magdalena Lagoon, Penelope McGee, George Modern, Melissa Muller, Joanna Sawaya, Luke Sawaya, Deborah Schwartz, Cynthia Trent, Karen Westwood, Anthony White, and Paulette Widener.
These are the members who were working while the governor had everybody in lockdown for over 2 months. behind the scenes, taking calls from the seniors, making food. Our Meals on Wheel program expanded tremendously overnight, cooking the foods, delivering the food. They were the ones that here, they were in their building cooking, and we were here trying to keep our town safe. And I know how hard you work in those long hours, and on behalf of myself and the town, we really appreciate, and we'd like to provide you with a
Yep.
certificate
We
of
have those.
appreciation. Thank you so much.
I'll hand them out to everybody so they don't
Okay.
take a lot of time. We're just going to grab a couple more photos. Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Well deserved. Thank you, guys.
Oh, good. We're done, we can get back up there. Where's Devin?
We should go down there while you
Is there glasses over there?
These are my glasses, if you want to use them.
They didn't spell?
Oh, no, I got it. They're in my pocket. Yeah, they fell in my pocket. We got them.
Should we go down below while you read the announcements?
Thank you, everyone, and once again, the award recipients and for their incredible work during COVID-19 pandemic, and hopefully they won't need to reach that height again. Next, we're going to get back to our normal meeting agenda and begin with a few announcements today. First, this Saturday marks the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. This is particularly a challenging day for myself and for all the 9/11 first responders, their families, their victims, and their survivors. The town board will be holding a brief ceremony at 10 a.m. Saturday, September 11th, at the World Trade Center Memorial Park in Calverton, at the corners of Edward and Riley Avenues. And I know, Ken, you're getting a wreath.
Yes, we're gonna just have a nice little brief prayer service. We'll have an opportunity to lay a wreath in remembrance of the victims. And there may be some of the Boy Scouts in attendance and an honor guard. And it's just a solemn day to reflect.
Okay. Next, I'm very happy to announce today that yesterday a representative from the Suffolk County Controller's Office hand-delivered to our office the check to make our tax warrant whole. And by the end of today, the school board will be receiving their funds.
Oh, thank God.
This is, yes. This is great news for the town and also for the Riverhead Central School District, because once processing is completed by the end of today, our financial administrator, Bill Rother, can wire the school tax amount that is owned, and this is the soonest the school district has received their funds in over 5 years. And Bill, did you want to add anything to this effect?
I just wanted to say that the wire has actually been processed, and if it's not available by the end of the day, it will be at the district for
Great.
Great, and again, this, the soonest has been done in 5 years, so we're happy to be at this point. Next, I'm pleased to announce the first Water Forum meeting date has been set for September 15, 2021, at 6 p.m. here at the Town Board Room at Town Hall. The purpose of the meeting is to communicate and share information and ideas and provide updates on the issues surrounding water and water uses and our water infrastructure, and all interested residents are encouraged to attend. The meeting will be also held through Zoom if anyone can't make it to Town Hall. And now for two somber announcements. If you know Riverhead at all, chances are pretty good you also know Hawk. James Hawk Woodson passed away on August 31st at the age of 85. He was a local icon and known affectionately as Mr. Riverhead. He will be greatly missed. In addition to losing Hawk, we also lost a local wine pioneer in Ronald Gerler Sr. He was a visionary and began growing grapes in the 1980s and eventually purchased additional property now known as the Jamesport Vineyards. Ron's loss will also be felt throughout our wine community, but we will never forget these two icons. Okay, moving forward, can I have a first and a second to close the town board meeting and open the special community development meeting?
Motion. Second.
Diane, can you please call the vote? Thank you.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Hand. Yes. Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
The town board meeting is closed and the CDA meeting is now open.
Okay, Diane, okay, thank you for calling the vote. And Dawn Thomas, our CDA director, is going to come forward. Good afternoon, Dawn.
Good afternoon. We have only one resolution on today, and so that's to ratify the execution of an agreement with the chairman of the CDA with Insurance Auto Auctions Corp. If there are any comments on that resolution, I guess we can take those now.
Okay, before we call the resolutions, anyone want to comment? Okay, you want to come forward?
Just before the first public comment on resolutions today, I just have a brief statement to make. It's the overarching goal of this administration to foster an environment that allows for public participation. However, at all times, there must be order and decorum, and speakers must be respectful of the town board and the need for order. Please note the 5-minute comment period is just that. It is a 5-minute window in which members of the public may let their voices be heard on a subject or subjects, but it is not a forum for back-and-forth dialogue, questioning, and debate. While New York State open meetings law clearly states that it does not require the public body to offer the public an opportunity to be heard, the town supervisor is the presiding officer of the meeting and seeks to elicit community participation provided order and decorum is maintained. So we'll remind everybody to please keep their comments to 5 minutes and to also state their name and their hamlet for the record.
Good afternoon,
Good
Madam
afternoon.
Supervisor, Town Board members. Most of you know who I am. My name is Roland Marks, lifelong resident of Manorville. I'm not going to take up your time. I'm going to give you a lot less than 5 minutes. I only got really one question to ask you. The car parking of storage cars facilities again. We've had that problem there before, which you know. You stored it before, which you did a pretty good job, I think, but overall, it still affects the environment with any cars leaking oil, fuel, transmission fluids, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the people of Manorville, you know, and I know, maybe some of the people in this room know, that we've been having a tremendous problem with our water supply. Matter of fact, it's polluted, which you all know. Everybody agrees it's polluted, correct? Okay, beautiful. Now, do we need any more pollution in our water? Really? I mean, this is a good thing. The town's gonna make money on this, obviously, which the town needs the revenue too, so I'm not stopping that, but, you know, you gotta make revenue. It's not gonna affect us any longer. I mean, we've been affected for 60, 70 years with this problem, the Epcot facility. And I wish you'd really consider very strongly and deeply about, you know, 1 leak, 2 leaks, you know, you could say it's not that bad, but it adds up at the end. I wish you'd really consider that. And that's all I have to say. And thank you, town board members, for letting me speak. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming to talk to us. Bob, did you want to address that?
Hold on.
Yeah, I want to wait to see if
Sir,
anybody else.
we have, yeah, I think because I think we already wanted to address this. This was, did you want to talk about the DEC?
That's what I was going to do.
Okay, great.
With response to the speaker, as he pointed out, this is something that was done in the aftermath of Sandy. The town at the time, as governing body for the CDA, had entered into temporary license agreements with Insurance Autos, or IAA. The cars in that case were parked on the runways, the taxiways, the hard surfaces. DEC did intervene at a certain point to make sure that there was no storage of vehicles on the grasslands. In 2014, the board entered into an option agreement with IAA to allow them to utilize the site in the event there was another catastrophe. Nobody is happy about what happened with regard to Ida. They elected to proceed under that option. DEC was contacted, in particular Rob Marsh from the DEC, We had a very, not only by email, but by phone, and we had a discussion about the storage of cars, and Mr. Marsh did confide that the IAA scenario was done in a well-planned manner. They were happy with the inspection that occurred after the site was vacated, as opposed to there was some storage of cars that had occurred on grasslands, which was unrelated to the CDA and to the IAA. He did send a confirming email that provided the cars were stored on those hard surfaces again, and IAA took steps to make sure that any leakage or any spills were promptly cleaned up and handled. DEC would not require any further permits, and he sent an email to that effect. We don't believe that it should be a problem based upon, again, the interaction that we had with the DEC and their ability to look at the site.
And Bob, was the DEC out there?
I don't know if they've been out yet, but I know they were out there during the 2012 and 2013 storage.
And they're following the same protocols?
Because that's correct. And
2012 was the year that it was executed originally?
that was the
Yeah.
original one with Sandy.
The contract
It was no- I think it was
2/14.
November.
The contract, I thought, was April 2/14.
That was for the option,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
And they've been paying $25,000 a year since then, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they've paid us $200,000 in the last 8 years to continue that option.
Overall.
Yeah.
So I have just a couple of questions. Bob, I had emailed you some questions, and thank you, you answered most of them. But one question I didn't see the answer for, how are the cars being brought in? Because there's only the one way in and the one way out. And we
They're
have
using the
racing.
gate off of Line Road on the south side, so that they're not interfering with the racing events. They are bringing them in that way, and they are putting the cars on the southerly end and working their way in a northerly direction so that they're not hampering Mr. Scalzo's event. We also had some further discussions with them at the request and behest of the fire marshal to ensure that when the cars are stored, there will be an ability for the fire services to be able to access between them to also address any concerns that may arise while they're being stored. I had that discussion with Chief Fire Marshal Zidek yesterday and expressed his concerns to IAA.
Just one thing, when we were doing the racing, that was something I was asking, that we are careful at looking at every detail and making sure we're attending to everything. So certainly, this should have been included at that time. That discussion should have been included at that time.
I certainly, the possibility of a storm probably should have been a discussion item when we chose to go forward with those events. That's correct.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, anyone else want to come forward? And this is on the resolution that's before us for the CDA.
Yes, John McAuliffe from Roanoke Landing in Riverhead. I will come back after the resolution, but I had something about this resolution just to clarify. I could not get into the packet online. I don't know whether it was my computer or a general problem. So this presumably is in the content of the resolution, but what is the date that this starts? What is the exact location? And how much are we being paid for it? You've referenced Mr. Scalzo's race. Does this have some overlap with the second contract for the other racing, which will use both runways and I think take up a larger space? So all those questions would be helpful to know. And since I'm on the question of the drag racing, I would say, Tim, that you were right. There was no sound, no noticeable sound coming from the drag racing. So I give you total credit for that.
To answer your questions, the 7,000-foot runway was the one that was the subject of the 2014 option. So the use of the site or the licensed premises is the 7,000-foot runway, not the 10,000-foot runway. They are initially utilizing somewhere around 15 acres, and that has been done by design so that they can maintain a safe separation from where Scalzo is currently using the facility. Mr. Scalzo's event provides for a shutdown and then a turnoff at one of the connecting streets, which is the southerly of the two. And this, the initial use will be approximately 800 to 1,000 feet from that, so that it will not interfere with his racing. They will be looking to utilize the entire 7,000-foot runway. The amount they are paying is $4,175 per acre per month. The initial payment is in excess of $60,000. Once the full site is being utilized, it's going to be in excess of $200,000 per month. They're looking for a 3-month license. A scramble event, which is the other racing event, that's scheduled for, I think, the 24th, 25th, if my dates are correct, will not be impacted by this, as he had already elected not to use the 7,000-foot runway. He is going to be using only the 10,000-foot runway for his event.
So Bob, just one question. I know Mr. Scalzo pays $1,250, correct, per day?
Correct.
Now, so he's been there for 30 days. Does that include, what days does that include?
Just for the events.
So that doesn't include the setup and
No.
the breakdown?
No.
Yes, do we have anyone else?
Hi, good afternoon, town board. My name's Takwi Turchin. I live in Calverton. And I do want to address the question of the IAA contract. I just learned about it, and I understand it's been $25,000 that's been received by the town for each of those 8 years. Could you tell me where that money has been spent each year, if it's the same every year, and where that is, and will it be the same place going forward?
Well, it's in the CDA funds, and it's been used, I think, for the most part, to pay legal fees.
Legal fees for,
CDA work.
okay. So that's what,
When you're talking about the option itself.
$200,000
Correct.
in legal fees?
Over 8 years, correct.
Over 8 years.
Yeah.
And the money going forward will go where?
It's not my decision. That's going to obviously come back to the board that's sitting behind me as the governing body for the CDA. It will go into the CDA funds. I failed to mention that they also deposited, I think, $219,000 as a security deposit to ensure the clean and safe delivery of the runway at the end of their license agreement.
If the board would consider that Calverton would like to see that money dedicated to our area and our hamlet, I'd appreciate it. The other question I have is the condition of the cars that arrive on site there. You know, obviously they're going to be storm damaged, and they're going to have, I don't know, garbage, standing water, a variety of other things, or whatever condition that they were sitting in. Are they cleaned before they're packaged and sent to that location?
I don't know the answer.
The second question is, yes, it's not supposed to be on the grasslands, it's on the paved surface, but to my understanding, there's no drainage on that surface, so whatever hits those cars will drain off the paved surface into a permeable surface, so that's a pretty big concern. That's it for me on that. Since you were talking about the drag racing, and someone just came up before me and mentioned that Mr. Hubbard was correct, there was no noise, I can tell you, in fact, the residents heard the noise, and they called me. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3. Thank you very much.
I could also say that on the first day, I had the police department go to each corner of the EPCAL property, including the cemetery. And we also had somebody who actually works on Scotts Avenue. He went in the middle of the day, and he completed about an hour and a half of work, and he was on the property, and he said he didn't hear anything. So, and we do have the official records of the noise. And so we're going to move forward on that. Anybody else on this resolution?
Okay, that's CDA Resolution number 9 of 2021, ratifies the execution of agreement by the chairman of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency with Insurance Auto Auctions Corp. motion and a second.
Motion.
Second?
Please vote.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Arod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, and now we have open comments from the public on CDA.
Any open comments on any general matter concerning CDA topics? Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a long absence. John McAuliffe again from Roanoke Landing. Let me just note on the noise that it was also the first day that I went and heard no noise, so if there's now a complaint from later time periods, they may well have changed something about it, and that's something that ought to be looked at unless there was someone else from the board who was actually present on the subsequent weekends and particularly the evenings. So I just leave that as a question to be looked at. The primary reason, as you know from the letter I sent last night, that I'm coming up is about what we raised in the last board meeting, both the message from Ms. McGraw that was read by Angela and the message from EPCAL Watch that I read. I understand you're not wanting to get into extended dialogues, but also there's a sense, as with letters that are sent to the board, that we're sending things into the ether, and if there's no specific response to the questions raised, then we have, obviously it goes maybe to the press and to the audience watching, but one doesn't have the sense of where the board is going on these things. The specific points that were raised by Ms. McGraw have to do with the work session with the Germasians, and to the fact that there was a statement that $40 million would be available for the purchase. It was said by the attorney, Mr. Kent, that that was cash, but then it turns out that it was not just cash, and so there needs to be some clarification of how much is cash and how much is equities. And the question that Ms. McGraw was raising was whether that's an issue you've pursued and are concerned about. The other question she raised had to do with the letter from Grant Thornton, which was very different this time than their previous letters. They did not make statements about actual looking at the monies involved, and simply were taking the information based on what CAT or the Germasians were telling them. So there was also a question which may be mechanical, that the letters were not signed, and all the previous letters were signed by Patricia Walsh. That is the same, may just be bureaucratic. The real question is that Grant Thornton did not make the same statement in the current letter that they'd made in previous letters about the actual, what they were looking at. And finally, there's the question of the secret financing letter, which we think in principle that it was inappropriate for you to let it pass by, that Mr. Eisler needed your consent. We don't know that you ever explicitly gave that consent, but in any case, we think that consent should be withdrawn, and that you should demand visible for yourselves and visible to the town the actual content of the letter. So those 3 points remain. If you wish to respond to them at this point now or publicly through the media. The fourth point is really I'm sorry, and there was also the point from the letter I read from Mr. Farr, which had to do with the Brookhaven Town Industrial Development Agency and their default on that commitment to the CDA in Brookhaven, and specifically what your response is to that and how that might affect the financing for Riverhead. But finally, and all of those we would love to get answers now or in the future, but the specific question that I wanted to ask you now, in as nonpartisan a way, but with the premise that we do have an important election coming up, and we want to know if there's going to be a forum in which all of the incumbent board members. who
Excuse
are
me, sir, you have
candidates-
30 seconds
Okay.
left.
Whether the supervisor and the incumbent board members who are running again and all of the new candidates will together be on a platform, whether it's in a debate or simply them making presentations and answering questions from the public, that there should be before the election a thorough airing of the future of EPCAL and the contract and exercising the town's right to terminate the contract. So if you choose to say now that you would be willing to go into a public session like that, I'd love to hear it. Thank you. I'd also note that the two articles that were attached to my letter, one from Forbes and one from...
Sir, we're past the 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, one from Forbes and one from Bloomberg establish
Mr.
even
McAuliffe,
more
that's 5
clearly-
minutes. We need to move on to the next
Okay.
speaker, sir. Thank you.
even more clearly that the financial situation is in doubt. So, but that's the question I posed.
So, Mr. McCullough, I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. Certainly, I welcome and look forward to any debates or meet and greets. I always think it's good for the community to see where everybody stands on the issues, so I would be fully in favor of that. As far as this deal that you're talking about, did not find getting a non-disclosure letter acceptable for me. I felt that we should be seeing the letter, we should know what's in the letter. And certainly, the people in the community are very concerned about the deal at EPCAL. We are seeing daily articles about their financial struggles, and there's just one red flag after another. Thank you.
Hi again, Takri Turchin, Callerton. Just have a clarification question on the option contract. When does the option agreement end? Is it the same as the license agreement?
Yeah, the option is a little different. That's a yearly option, which is, it ends upon the sale or lease of the property, which would include the 7,000-foot runway, or on IAA choosing not to exercise the option.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else from the public on this matter? Okay, Dawn?
Okay, we can move to close the CDA meeting and open the town board meeting.
Okay, can I have a first and a second to close the CDA meeting, please?
So moved.
Second?
Good.
Rothwell,
Yes.
Bayrod,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
The CDA meeting is closed and the town board meeting is open. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn. All right. Moving forward, can I have a first and a second to approve the town board meeting minutes from August 26, 2021?
So moved?
Second?
Diane?
Did we have I'm sorry, I see a little error on my agenda. I had listed CDA regular meeting of August 17th, but that should just say regular town board meeting of August 17th.
Yes, and that's what I have, a town board meeting. I corrected it on my end.
Okay.
Sorry, we didn't get it back to you.
Sorry. So that was for the
Yeah.
minutes of the 17th and the special town board meeting of the 26th,
And the
correct?
special, okay.
very
So
good.
we have to add the special to it,
Sure.
okay.
Okay, Rothwell,
Yes.
Bayrod,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
The minutes are approved.
Diane, do we have any communications?
Yes, we have plenty.
Okay.
Under correspondence, I have 8 letters regarding the Chapter 263 rental dwelling units. And if you wish, I will name who they're from. Irma Solis with NYCLU, Nicole Lovell with Empire Justice Center, Sal Mastropolo, B. Lagori. Then there was Concern for Independent Living, Long Island Board of Realtors, Long Island Builders Institute, and Keith Lewin. I also had several other letters, different topics. Mary Mackey sent a letter regarding the distribution of the COVID relief funds. Victoria Berger, who is an executive director of the Suffolk County Historical Society Museum, sent a letter of opposition to the town board and zoning board of appeals concerning the ZBA public hearing of 205 Osborne Avenue. Michelle Duarte sent concerns on the public hearing regarding Chapter 207 animals, and I believe that is our public hearing of today. I did get from John McAuliffe, and he went in to explain his items from his correspondence, and that didn't make it onto the agenda because that came in late. I also had another late correspondence from the Riverhead Free Library, and they had concerns and issues with the proposed 205 Osborne Avenue. Theirs was also to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that was Janet O'Hare with the Riverhead Free Library.
Right.
And that's all the correspondence. But under reports, Town Clerk, August monthly report was $16,885.99. Tax Receiver, August utility collection report was $607,845.80. And that is all I have.
So I actually have one correspondence that I'm going to read. It came from the Anti-Bias Task Force, and they have asked me if I would read it today, so I'm going to read this. With Rosh Hashanah concluding this evening, I wish you a Shana Tova, a sweet year. Rosh Hashanah marks the beginning of the high holy days that lead up to the holiest day on the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, which will begin at sundown on September 15th. Unfortunately, that is the exact time of the Riverhead Town Water Forum having been rescheduled from September 20th due to a conflict. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, a day devoted to prayer and fasting, and every bit as significant and meaningful in the Jewish faith as Easter is in the Christian religion. As such, it deserves the same respect and consideration. On behalf of members of the Riverhead Anti-Bias Task Force, now that the town board has been alerted to this accidental discrepancy, we request that the forum again be rescheduled to a more suitable calendar date. And this is from Cindy Clifford, the chair and of the Anti-Bias Task Force. So I am asking if we can honor their request and reschedule that.
You know, Councilwoman, you are the liaison to the office and to your peers. And if that was an issue, I think we could have just discussed that when it first came out.
I'm the liaison to the Anti-Bias Task Force.
and-
That's why I'm reading the letter.
Yeah, but we didn't know that there was possibly a conflict, and you should try to communicate that with us instead of just bringing it out and without, now we noticed it, it's in the newspapers. As soon as that became aware, maybe we should have somehow have a discussion.
We did, I
By
am
the way,
aware
you know,
of the holiday,
that-
but I will also say the RAB
It's a known holiday and it's
meeting.
been in the paper.
Okay, the RAB meeting is the following day, so that is also, we wanted to have the discussion before the RAB meeting, which happens to be on the 16th, so it'd be nice to have this discussion prior, so that we could bring questions and concerns to the RAB meeting, perhaps the next day. So that is scheduled to go on as planned. We're doing this forum by Zoom, and so by doing it that way, if anybody has questions beforehand, they don't need to wait till the 15th. You can send any questions in now, concerns. It'll also be recorded so that you will be able to watch the meeting at any time at your leisure. So those that respectfully cannot attend because of the holiday, and I totally understand it, it's just short of time and trying to accomplish a lot of things in a significant time period. But you can send in questions, you can send in concerns, whether by email, letter, calling any member of the board, and we'll get those answers and we'll discuss them. And if you can't attend that evening and you can't watch it, it's recorded. You can watch it on Thursday or Friday thereafter. But I think we wanted to have some answers because the RAB meeting is scheduled on the 16th.
So I'm going to request again that it be rescheduled as a matter of respect to those in our community. And I'm also going to respond to the comment that I am responsible for the incorrect date. I did not set up the water forum, and I did not choose the date, and I am actually alerting you to the issue right now and requesting it, and it is beforehand, so I am actually doing my job as the liaison.
All right, any comments from the board? No? Okay, so I think we're gonna move forward. Devin,
Yeah, so we're going to go forward to public hearings. We've done the communication and the report, so we'll skip.
we're all set?
Yep, we're all set with that. We'll skip to number 12.
Okay. All right, moving forward today, the public hearing portion of this meeting today concerns, we're supposed to start at 2:05, and the time is now, I will say, 3:51.
250.
2:51. We're opening a public hearing for the consideration of a proposed local law to amend Chapter 207 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Animals. Councilman Rothwell has been behind us from day one, so I'm going to ask him to please introduce the legislation to the public.
Thank you, Supervisor. One of the things we're discussing here is going to be Article 4, prohibition of sales of commercially bred dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores. This is not an attempt to directly impact any particular individual business. It's about restructuring things. We do know existing that there are puppy mills that breed these animals, and although that might not be taking place within our town, we want to make sure that we're not receiving them, and the best way to stop them, because we can't control them in outer states, other places, is simply to not allow those animals to arrive here in Riverhead Town for sale. By restructuring the business, it does allow the opportunity for any type of pet store to team up with nonprofit agencies, animal shelters, or other organizations in which you can still offer for adoption in your local store, where people could come in, they can adopt an animal, so there still may be a dog, kitten, a rabbit inside a pet store that you would go in, you would fill out adoption papers, which also views the eligibility of someone to adopt a pet, which we don't have right now, as opposed to somebody going into a store, putting money down, purchasing an animal, and walking out, not knowing what type of household that animal is in and how it's going to be treated. The adoption is a much more in-depth process, and so it promotes people from filling out those applications and applying to adopt a pet. The pet store still has the ability then to sell all the necessary supplies with it. So if someone comes in and adopts a cat, they still may go buy a pet carrier, pet food, pet supplies, and all other things to it. Other large-scale organizations, Petco, Pet Store, they all widely succeed by selling supplies without the actual need to have animals for sale within their facility. So this is a measure to, the purpose and intent is to promote animal welfare, encourage the best practices in breeding and purchasing of dogs, cats, and rabbits, offered for retail sale in the town of Riverhead. Most important is we're going to require a certificate of source, and so that's how we're going to determine where in fact these animals are coming from, and so that we know that they are not coming from puppy mills, but rather rehabilitation centers, animal shelters, and other non-for-profit organizations. So with that in mind, this is a public hearing to listen to our residents and to have them explain to us their thoughts and feelings on this proposed legislation. And then I believe we'll keep the public notice open for a few days afterwards as well.
Okay, I think Devin has a statement. on
Yeah, I'm
public hearing.
going to read a statement, Supervisor, and then we'll ask the town attorney to also make his statement. So once again, it is the overarching goal of this administration to foster an environment that allows for public participation. However, at all times, there must be order and decorum, and speakers must be respectful of the town board and the need for order. Anyone choosing to speak should direct their comments to the entire town board, and it is reminded that the town board is here to listen, not necessarily to respond or express views or opinions. Public hearing comments must remain on topic of the subject public hearing, and speakers are asked to please be concise and courteous to the town board and to other speakers in the room. Bob?
I'm going to use the podium. Speak a little better, and I'll have trouble doing it well.
Okay.
Forgive me for getting rid of the jacket, it's just a little too warm in here for me.
I'm gonna say.
I like it when it's like a freezer in here, to be honest. Much more comfortable.
Is it
Before I read my script, I just want to say that, you know, it's two main themes here. We want to hear from the public. We invite the participation. At the same time, we're looking for decorum and respect. As already pointed out by Devin, the comments are to be addressed to the town board. They're to be done with the idea that we're hoping that all folks have a right to participate and listen, and that the proceedings are not disruptive.
I'm going to read a little snippet from the Association of Towns manual, which talks about public participation in town board meetings and public hearings. And this comes from the New York State Comptroller's Office. Quote, "A town board has the right to promulgate rules of procedure for the orderly conduct of its meetings and for the proper management of the business and affairs of the town. The town board may invite and permit residents of the town to participate therein, so long as such participation is orderly and constructive and does not interfere with the business and purpose of the meeting." Going on, they have a section that also talks about reasonable rules of procedure. The rules might also include the amount of time each person may speak and whether they may speak on any issue or just issues on the agenda. In addition, the Committee on Open Government has noted that the town board could clearly adopt rules to prevent verbal interruptions, shouting, and other outbursts, as well as slanderous or obscene language or signs and movement during the meeting in order to ensure an orderly meeting and provide the clear ability for those in attendance to hear and observe the discussion and proceedings. As I noted at the last meeting, the board in 2013 adopted rules of procedure. They amended those rules of procedure, and most recently on March 5th of 2019, they again amended the rules of procedure. At that time, it was mainly to deal with how we conduct executive sessions. Those rules and procedures are available at the town website. All one needs to do is go to the town board meeting schedule link, and they will see them. Again, we're looking for respect and courtesy for all of those who are getting up here to speak, and I have nothing further at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. It certainly looks like an orderly, respectful group of people here today. I do want to mention, just because you had talked about the legislation, and I think the legislation is particularly timely this week. If you've been watching the news, there are countless animals that, because of the floods and the hurricane, the storm, there are countless animals in our shelters that are in deep need of a home. So I just wanted to mention that I think the legislation is particularly timely because of that. There are so many animals that need homes.
Okay. John? Anyone from the public want to come forward? Carol? You seem right in line.
I'd like to
Happy
start by
birthday.
saying happy birthday
Happy
to our
birthday.
town board coordinator. Happy birthday, Carol.
There you go.
Thank you all. I
Okay.
can't think of a better place to be, right here on my birthday. Advocating for the animals.
Yes, today is Carol's birthday. Carol works hard and she has to deal with the four of us.
Actually, the five of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, my name is Carol Scalfani. I live in Wading River, and I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Riverhead. Most of you know me as the town board coordinator, but right now, I'm here as a resident and on behalf of my profession. I am a licensed veterinary technician, and I teach veterinary science. I've been working with and helping animals since 1983, my first animal job being at Kent Animal Shelter. As you can imagine, I'm all about animal welfare. In fact, it's definitely one of the topics I include in my curriculum. I'm proud that this town board brought forth this legislation, and I'm hoping that you will advocate on behalf of animal welfare and encourage safe, humane pet adoption here in the town of Riverhead by passing this legislation. And although the talk here today will mostly be on puppies and breeder dogs, this definitely pertains to cats and rabbits as well. All three of these groups are milled animals. This law essentially bans retail stores from the sale of commercially bred pets that all too often come from inhumane breeding mills. In the passing of this bill, pet stores can only sell, adopt out a dog, cat, or rabbit if it was obtained from a municipal shelter, a nonprofit animal welfare organization, or an animal control unit as laid out in the bill's text. To be clear, this legislation is not to put anyone out of business. I believe the town's intention is to promote animal welfare, to encourage the best practices in the breeding and purchasing of dogs, cats, and rabbits offered for retail sale in the town, to encourage pet stores to partner up with local municipal shelters, legitimate rescue groups, and animal shelters to work together in finding homes for the homeless pets. And most importantly, it's to sever the puppy mill pipeline. I'll explain that later. This happens to be perfect timing also, Councilwoman Kent, for this legislation because, I don't know if you're aware of this, but September is Puppy Mill Awareness Month. Okay? So I'm hoping that today, many of you will become aware of the puppy mill situation, and you'll all learn what a puppy mill is. But first, I'd like to get into animal welfare. Animal welfare means that the way in which an animal is coping with the conditions in which it lives. It refers to the state of the animal. The treatment that an animal receives is covered by other terms such as animal care, animal husbandry, and humane treatment. Protecting an animal's welfare means providing for its physical and mental needs. An animal is in good state of welfare if, as indicated by scientific evidence, it's healthy, comfortable, well-nourished, safe, able to express innate, which means natural behavior, and not suffering from unpleasant states such as pain, fear, and distress. Good animal welfare requires disease prevention and veterinary treatment, appropriate shelter housing, management, nutrition, humane handling, and when necessary, humane euthanasia. Make no mistake, ensuring animal welfare is a human responsibility. It is our responsibility. These animals depend on us to take care of them. We domesticated them so that we can have their companionship, and in turn, they offer us unconditional love. They need that human bond. They need to be cared for. After all, they're always there for us. So what are kitten factories and rabbit farms? To answer this, one only needs to look at puppy mills, which is the most important animal welfare issue of today. And then you can relate it to kittens and rabbits, as well as because they're all milled. The Humane Society of the United States, HSUS, explains puppy mills in this way. A puppy mill is an inhumane, high-volume dog breeding facility that churns out puppies for profit, ignoring the needs of the pups and their mothers. As defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a puppy mill is a commercial farming operation in which purebred dogs are raised in large numbers and often in substandard or poor conditions. So, what are puppy mills? Puppy mills are commercial breeders who turn profit by breeding and selling puppies to brokers who then sell to pet stores or directly to consumers through the internet. This is called the puppy mill pipeline. First, the puppy is born at a breeding facility. Then it's taken from the mother, usually even before it's weaned, and it's sold to a broker for, it could be $50, $100. They're stuffed into crates, and yes, they are stuffed into crates, as many as they can fit into a crate, and trucked for days, sometimes, to other states. And that's when they are delivered to the pet store, and then the whole process is repeated again. That's the puppy mill pipeline, and that's what this legislation is really all about. It's severing the puppy mill pipeline, okay? Puppy mills are cruelly confined, intensive breeding facilities that mass-produce dogs for the sale, bred in harsh environments that frequently lead to the puppies being physically and emotionally damaged. They are forced to have litter after litter until they can't breed anymore, and they are discarded. Some shot, some abandoned, and some left for dead. Speaking of left for dead, this is Harley. Harley's the one-eyed dog. Harley, if everybody could say, Harley spent 10 years living in a cramped, filthy cage in a puppy mill. Harley was left for dead, in a bucket. You see, most puppy mills, they're not concerned about cleanliness or anything like that, and they stack the cages up on one another, and it's inevitable that the feces and urine is going to run down into the other animal underneath them. And so when it comes time to cleaning that cage, in this particular puppy mill, they decided to get out the power washer. So Harley lost his eye from a power washer. And they picked him up and they threw him in a bucket thinking that he was dead. But his little angel came over, saw that he was still alive, and rescued him. So Harley was rescued. Excuse me. Anyway, he recovered, and he became an advocate for other puppy mill dogs. and even walk down the red carpet. Yeah. So anyway, you can read all about Harley and what went on there at harleystream.org, okay? But there's many stories like Harley's. There's Marley's, there's all kinds of stories, okay, where thousands of dogs were rescued, but unfortunately, the puppy mills, they changed the name and they continue the practices. Because puppy mills, or commercial breeding facilities, and backyard breeders choose profit over animal welfare, their animals typically do not receive proper veterinarian care. Animals may seem healthy at first, but later show signs like congenital eye and hip defects, parasites, or even the deadly parvovirus. These animals suffer from untreated fractures, chronic skin infections, chronic ear infections, and I could go on and on and on, okay? Intestinal parasites, you name it. The health of the dogs is disregarded in order to maintain a low overhead and maximize profits. To lower costs, the dogs are continually caged, exposed sometimes to rain, the heat, and the cold. This causes the dogs to exhibit neurotic behavioral patterns, such as nonstop spinning in place or eating their own feces. It's true. Insufficient veterinary care also often leads to rotten teeth, infected eyes, painful sores, etc. If a puppy mill dog is ever taken from a cage and placed on the grass, believe it or not, it's so unusual that they actually cower in fear because they've never touched grass before. It's always the cages, okay? Some mills hold dozens of dogs and others hold thousands. But regardless of the size, most puppy mills have the same basic features in common. Barking dogs crammed together in rows of small crowded cages, stinking air full of ammonia, urine, and feces, nowhere for dogs to play or go for a walk, no toys or soft bedding, no human affection or socialization. The lack of socializations and human interactions is just as disturbing and heartbreaking as the physical aspect of it. For people, honestly, I've come to realize that people really don't know what a puppy mill is. This is a puppy mill. All right, this is a puppy mill. This is a commercial breeding facility. All right, and believe it or not, it's a lot of them are USDA inspected. I'll leave this here for anybody who would like to look at it later. So it's disease, neglect, and breeding over and over and over and over again. Every 6 months, malnourished female dogs are forced to have yet another litter of puppies, and it's not even line breeding. They practice inbreeding. Inbreeding is father-daughter, mother-son, okay? And talk about genetic defects, there's plenty. I've personally treated breeding animals and puppies that were bred from commercial breeding facilities that reside in this town, okay? In fact, there are 3 located in this town that I know of anyway. There could be more, but I know of 3. I have also treated puppies that consumers purchased from these commercial breeding facilities, as well as puppy mill castaways. The breeding animals are given a number and are handled like they are an object rather than a living being. Their eyes are glazed over, and I'm not kidding. There's like nothing there. You could go like this, and they don't move their eyes. They're just like, they're so traumatized, okay? I've worked with vets who had integrity and actually spayed breeding females unbeknownst to the breeding facility, so that these breeding animals wouldn't be tortured any longer by that facility's practice of breeding until she dies. It was the ethical thing to do, else that female would have died for sure, and be forced to breed one more time. At around 8 weeks of age, the mill puppies that make it, the ones that haven't succumbed to the stress and hygienic conditions of their cages, are taken from the mothers. They're either sold online or shipped off to pet shops, and that's where the puppy mill pipeline comes into effect. Okay? For mother dogs, the breeding cycle restarts again and again until their reproductive years cease. Then they are typically killed, often by cruel means, and they do. They've been known to be shot. All right. For puppies, the heartbreaking story is just starting. If they survive the long journey to pet shops, packed into trucks with the other sickly puppies, they are often sold to unsuspecting customers for thousands of dollars. The welfare risks in all instances are essentially the same: malnourishment, cramped and filthy housing, injuries and illnesses left untreated, and critical lack of positive socialization with humans and other animals. Then there's backyard breeders. Other cat and dog producers may be hoarders or backyard breeders. They're irresponsible breeders who treat these animals as a commodity also. Backyard breeders are also motivated by profit. Ads from these unscrupulous breeders fill classifieds. They appear to be nice neighbor next door. Even seemingly good-intentioned breeders may treat their breeding pairs as family pets. However, continuously breeding animals for years to reduce litters for a profit still jeopardizes the animal's welfare. Some backyard breeders may only breed their family dog once in a while, but they often are not knowledgeable on how to breed responsibly, such as screening for genetic defects and even responsible for simply putting two dogs together is not breeding, okay? Anybody can do that. And then there's the brokers, and those are the ones that actually buy up the puppy mill dogs. They're the middleman. They're dealers who are also described as fluff and buff shops. They buy from other breeders located nearby in their own town or from kennels throughout the United States, and then they clean up the animals before shipping them to pet stores. Some of them may look great on the outside. I'm talking about the facilities. They may look great on the outside because they look clean, and they even have veterinarians and LBTs on staff, okay? And they claim they only sell healthy pups. They often breed animals themselves, but they also buy puppies or kittens from many different kennels for resale to pet stores. One such operation is called Menning Enterprises, located in Edgerton, Minnesota. They are one of the largest dealers who supplies puppies to pet stores, other kennels, and consumers nationwide. They purchase dogs, puppies from other breeders and then resell them to pet stores. It's difficult to obtain documentation as to who the original breeders are. The problem with this is that on the certificate of veterinary inspection, which is required for transport of an animal across state lines, the dealer's name is listed as the seller. But often, the original breeder's name is not listed, so the public has no idea who bred the puppies or kittens or the conditions of the actual breeding kennel. There is no way to confirm that those animals were maintained in a healthy and safe environment. So why pick on the poor pet stores? While some dogs, cats, and small animals come from rescue organizations and shelters, fact is, the majority of the estimated 358 million pet animals come from retail pet stores. Many people love and care for their pets, but very few think about the life their pet experienced before being brought home. And we can all sit here right now and think about our dogs, or cats, or rabbits. Think about what that animal's parents just went through to get to you. Think about, maybe the parents aren't even alive anymore. Maybe they're dead. Okay? They're from the puppy mill if you got them from the pet store. Just think about that for a second. They're their own parents, okay? Anyway, pet stores don't have to sell puppies, kittens or bunnies. They choose to do this. To them, it's just a business and they're all a commodity. Across the country, thousands of independent pet stores, as well as large chains, operate profitably with a business model focused on the sale of pet supplies and services, concentrating on the social, physical, and mental health of the pet. They offer grooming, veterinary care, vaccination clinics, in-store and online dog and puppy training classes, boarding, day camp, pet care education, and pharmacy services. They do not profit on the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits. Many of these same stores collaborate with local animal shelters and rescue organizations to offer space and support for showcasing adoptable homeless pets on their premises. In the town of Riverhead, there are 3 such pet stores. We have Hometown Pet Shop in Wading River, we have Petco, and PetSmart in Riverhead. They focus on improving the lives of pets. Their business encompasses animal welfare, not puppy mills. Lest we forget about the 3 other known commercial breeding facilities in this town. I'm not going to even go there. In New York State, 100% of puppies sold in pet stores are from puppy mills and with backyard breeders. Pet dealers, which is any person who engages in the sale or offering for sale of more than 9 animals per year for profit to the public, as per the ag markets, pay as little as $50, then resell them to the general public for thousands. Puppy mills can be extremely difficult to identify, so there's no way to confirm that those animals are kept and maintained in a healthy, safe environment. A lack of transparency, lack of regulatory oversight, and the actions of unscrupulous breeders all combine to create what can be, at best, A life of deprivation, chronic boredom for cats and their kittens, dogs and their puppies, rabbits and their kits. Every pet store denies using puppy mills, and every commercial breeder denies being a puppy mill. They will say whatever it takes to sell an animal. They'll say our puppies come from breeders, not puppy mills. First of all, the word breeder is not an exclusive term. Anyone who puts two dogs together and produces puppies is technically a breeder. However, as we know, there are different types of breeders. There are commercial breeders, such as puppy mills, there's backyard breeders, and then you have the responsible, ethical breeders. While pet stores may claim that they obtain animals from small-scale, humane breeders, the reality is that pet stores cannot obtain dogs from responsible breeders because responsible breeders simply do not sell their puppies to pet stores, okay? These responsible, ethical breeders want to meet the puppy's family in person. A responsible breeder will not release the puppy until weaned from the mother. A responsible breeder has social interaction with the pups and the parents. A responsible breeder will be proud to show you their whelping box, okay, and the pup's parents in person, not that they're at a different facility, all right? Responsible breeders want to make sure that their animals are taken care of and that they're going into the right home. They're going to be looking at you as much as you're going to be looking at the puppy. That's a responsible, ethical breeder. Furthermore, 96% of the codes of ethics of the National Breed Clubs, these are the clubs that represent all 197 dog breeds that are recognized by the AKC, American Kennel Club, prohibit or discourage the members from selling their dogs to pet stores. Another one is all of our puppies come from USDA-inspected facilities, so we know they're not from puppy mills. They will typically say, no, we don't get dogs from puppy mills. We only buy from USDA licensed breeders, or we only provide USDA certified pet quality puppies. But the truth is, most USDA licensed breeders are puppy mills. Although commercial dog breeding facilities are inspected by the USDA under the Animal Welfare Act with AWA regulations, the standards of care are very low. USDA standards allow commercial breeders to keep dogs in cramped, stacked wire cages for their entire lives. The USDA does not require that dogs be regularly let outside of the cages for exercise, nor does it mandate socialization. Dogs can be kept in extreme temperatures for prolonged periods of times. Females are bred as early and as often as possible, and personnel without veterinary training often perform surgical births. Breeders are not required to vaccinate dogs from many highly infectious, deadly diseases or to provide regular veterinary care. Puppies are taken from their mothers at very young ages, exposing them to a range of behavioral issues, and because puppy mills dogs are often overbred or inbred, they frequently suffer from health and genetic disorders. When puppy mill mother dogs are no longer able to reproduce, breeders often abandon them or slaughter them. Thus, even if a commercial breeder complies with all USDA requirements, a breeder can and does keep animals in extremely inhumane conditions. So let's talk about the USDA just a little bit more, okay? In 1966, Congress passed the Animal Welfare Act, which outlined specific minimum standards for care for dogs, cats, and some other kinds of animals bred for commercial resale. The AWA is enforced by the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA.
Okay, Carol?
Yes.
I know you have a lot of information, and as the presiding officer, you can come back after everybody spoke, because it's part of the Association of Towns rules, because the people are walking out, people are indicating, and they want a chance, and we'd love to hear what you have
Sure.
to say.
No problem.
You're here until at least 4:30, so why don't we let people come in? We have people who are waiting online.
Sure.
And it's been quite a long time, and everybody should have the chance to listen. I really appreciate Carol,
Okay.
and we look forward to
Yep, no
having you
problem at
back.
all.
Okay, who wants to come next? And I know we have people online, and I know there's quite a few people that like to speak, and it's very common to have, to move a meeting along, and then have people come back after everyone has had a chance. Good evening, sir.
Hello,
You are?
Supervisor Aguiar. I'm David Schwartz. I
Okay.
represent People United to Protect Pet Integrity, PUPPY. And I just have to address a few things right off the bat. There is no definition of puppy mill. There's no definition in New York of what a puppy mill is. We heard a couple of definitions just now. It was the first time in any advocacy I've ever heard definitions. But if those are the definitions of what a puppy mill is, the 16 pet stores that we represent, and veterinarians, but the pet stores in particular, The 16 pet stores do not buy or do not source their animals, their puppies, from pet mills. Simple as, according to the definitions that we just heard, mind you, again, there is no definition of puppy mill. Millions of dollars have been spent in advocacy trying to create this aura of a puppy mill, but no one's ever defined it, and there is no definition in New York State. A couple of other things I'm going off my script now, and I have my memo for everyone. We sent it to you, but I'll keep this for you as well. Backyard breeders that we just heard about, illegal in Suffolk County. So any store in Riverhead that sells dogs from backyard breeders, you should shut them down. You already have the laws to do that. A very small percentage of puppies that end up in people's homes come from pet stores. So I heard a very large percentage, but it's a very small percentage. And by the way, many rescues, the same definitions we heard about the cages and how they're brought here. If we're going to go with the definition of what a puppy mill is, many rescues source their animals from where? From puppy mills. Okay, but again, there is no definition. So Puppy's mission is simple. It's to protect the health of pets and the integrity of the industry, promote freedom of choice where people could shop or adopt. We're a coalition of pet store owners, veterinarians, and other members of the pet store industry founded to protect businesses and advocate for brick-and-mortar pet stores dedicated to the welfare of the animals and consumers. And by the way, all the problems that you just heard about, if you didn't have brick-and-mortar pet stores that are highly regulated, the problems would be overwhelming. You would be creating more problems, and I'll get to that. So we strongly express our opposition to 207.26-31, a total ban on the retail sale of pets. It will ban one of the completely transparent and regulated way to purchase dogs available to families. And by the way, some of our members, they've been in business for 80 years, 50 years, 60 years, 25 years. They do it out of love. And I've visited every one of our members, and it's all done out of love for these animals. This bill will only serve to shut down small businesses and does not affect the ability for, quote, puppy mills, which there's no definition for, or bad breeders to operate the way they do now. It's going to leave a vacuum in the market that will allow bad actors. This bill intends to shut down, which will flourish, which bad actors will flourish. 75, and we're arguing against the same bill in the state. We've been up in the state for years, the same bill, and sponsored by, very radical members from New York City. It's the same exact bill. 75% of the profits are from the sales of puppies from these stores. So the argument is made that they could sell toys and pet food and all this other stuff. It's completely untrue. You're just going to shut down small businesses. Our member stores will be forced to close if this resolution was passed. It'll hurt small businesses, employees, and consumers. We know it's going to hurt consumers. Why? Because of supply and demand. Why are my members, some of them in business for 80 years, 50 years? Because there is a demand. The community likes the pet store. They want to shop at a brick and mortar, and let me explain why. Because pet stores are the only regulated source to purchase pets, and they provide protections for both the animal and consumers. Highly regulated, inspected by state health department and the USDA. Some stores face even local regulation, which is something that we welcome you to do. Create regulations over and beyond. In accordance with current laws, our animals come from USDA licensed and inspected breeders, who the members inspect regularly. That's one of the reasons why you would buy a puppy from a pet store, because they know who they're sourcing the animals from. They're not in business to source bad animals, bad puppies. They're not in business to do that. Okay? They're in business to give the consumer and the pet owner a good puppy. That's why they're in business. The prospective parent receives breeder information, including 3 years of clean inspection reports from the breeder health records, family information for the dog, and a comprehensive health warranties providing financial recourse as per New York State law. Think about it. So now you get rid of all the pet stores, and what do people do? It's what they're doing now in a lot of cases. Buying it blindly on the internet because some breeder somewhere has a beautiful website and it shows how beautiful the puppies are kept. I can't even tell you how many, and you'll hear from a couple of pet store owners today, I can't even tell you how many complaints the pet store owners get because people got ripped off buying their pets over the internet. You're shutting down the only way we could regulate. You're shutting it down. And I've been there. I've visited our members. I've seen the procedure in which families buy their pet. It's a long procedure. I saw a family in one of our members. They were sitting there for an hour and a half going through everything about the dog. So our members face many regulations that are not required of rescues, and therefore it creates an extra layer of protection for the consumer. And just like with most pet stores, most rescues are good actors in the industry, but some, like some pet stores, right? I'm not saying all pet stores are good. In fact, as far as our members go in puppy, we have very high standards. Out of all the pet stores in Riverhead, we only have one who's actually a member, and he's here today, Mr. Lewin from Puppy Experience. So there's only one member. The other pet stores, we're not talking about those pet stores who aren't members of our association. So if they are bad actors, and again, in every industry, there are bad actors. There's bad breeders, there's good breeders. There's bad rescues, there are good rescues. In fact, the overwhelming amount are good rescues. We're not here to talk about rescues, although the regulation, again, on rescues, there is no regulation. All the regulation is on the pet stores. And the consumer knows that. So, there's been a, in California, I just want to talk about a case, and I know I'm running out of time, but in California, what happened? So they shut down brick and mortar pet stores. Now all of a sudden you have these stores opening up in every community called pet rescues because they're quote unquote rescuing dogs. And what are they doing? They're buying the dogs and they're selling them for thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's all they did in California, and there'll be a movement to bring the pet stores back. So the pet stores, it's not the problem. All right, if you're going after bad breeders, and there certainly are some bad breeders out there, shutting down local businesses is not the answer for problems in other states. So what I ask you to do is just, you have the laws on your side, okay? You have the laws. There's tons of laws that our clients have to, that our members have to abide by. In fact, before the dog even goes to the family, there has to be 2 veterinary checks before that dog is even released. So there's a lot of propaganda out there, and most of it is untrue about these stores. These stores are in business to give families a good home for the puppy, and they only deal in, to the best of their ability, they only deal with the best of the best, because they don't want protests at their stores because they're selling bad dogs. And the other point I want to bring up, which is misinformation, is Suffolk County. We have one of the strongest laws in Suffolk County, just passed a couple of years ago. In fact, we were on that, and we, through fighting and negotiating and back and forth, there was a law that was passed. Did we love it? No, we didn't love it, but we could live with it. And it created more regulation, and the law is actually working well. And in Suffolk County, you can't there are no more brokers in Suffolk County. So that's out. So the only source to buy in Suffolk County right now are Class A USDA breeders. So I just wanted to put that on the record as well. And I'm going to ask all of you to please vote against this devastating piece of legislation. It's devastating to the consumer. It's devastating to brick and mortar stores who have done nothing wrong in this whole process, who are trying their best. And it's just an awful bill for government as a whole to just shut down an entire industry. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz, thank you for your comments.
Who did you say you were representing?
Puppy, People United to Protect Pet Integrity, and my name is David Schwartz, and I'm the spokesman and attorney for that group. And we were formed about, I think about 6 years ago when we were fighting the legislation in Suffolk County. Then the legislation in New York State became hot, so we got members throughout the state. So our organization has been growing, and we've been around for about 6 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, and
Schwartz.
we're registered also.
Who's next? Hello.
Hello, my name is Charles Sclafani.
How
I
you doing?
reside in Wading River. My wife is Carol. Happy birthday. I'd like to correct the gentleman who's just before me. Two things. One, this bill is not about shutting anybody down. Okay, that's a fallacy. I love how people change the optics of a bill to fit their needs. This is to regulate what is sold in our town and how they get it. Not to shut them down. And a store that's got to rely on one item to be profitable, they've got a problem to begin with. Second, the gentleman said there is no definition of puppy mill. It took me 10 seconds to figure out how to type on this stupid thing. Oxford, puppy mill, an establishment that breeds puppies for sale, typically on an intensive basis and in conditions regarded as inhumane. That's a definition. Second definition, it's Wikipedia, whether you like it or not, it's there. A puppy mill, also known as a puppy farm, is a commercial dog breeding facility characterized by quick breeding and poor conditions. So that debunks two of this gentleman's arguments. I'm going to give you a small story. I'm about 15 years old. I got 3 brothers. I got a father that's built like a brick you-know-what. We had Belgian Shepherds, German Shepherds. My mother was all of 5'1", 95 pounds. She comes home, an 8-inch dog after our last shepherd died. It's a poodle. Okay, 4 boys. All we had was German and Belgian Shepherds. She brings home this poodle. She got the poodle because where she worked, she had heard that they were going to euthanize this dog because she couldn't breed anymore. Sorry. Bonnie was my dog. Bonnie lived with me for 8 years until she died, unfortunately, in my driveway. There was nothing wrong with this dog, except she couldn't breathe. They were going to euthanize her. That's when I learned about puppy mills and dog breeders. I got 2 letters here, both from Wading River. The lady's name is Michelle Duarte. She's my neighbor. The first one is from her dog. Her dog is Leo. And Leo writes, "Dear Town Board, my name is Leo. I'm a 6-year-old King Charles Cavalier. My earliest memory was being placed in a cage and then crib-like enclosure with other siblings. It had shredded paper at the bottom in which we slept in and went to the bathroom in. Then people would come to look at us, and we hoped we would get a forever home. One day a lady came in with her son. She looked at me but wanted a girl, so she picked up my sister. I thought she was going to take my sister home, but something changed her mind, and the next day she picked me. She would come in every few days to visit and even bought me a toy, but I wasn't allowed to go home with her yet. In the meantime, I got sick and had to be taken to the vet. I was there for a week and thought I wouldn't see the lady again. As soon as I got back to the place, I was put back in a crate. I heard the lady yelling from somewhere that she wanted to see me. They tried to tell her no, but she wasn't leaving without seeing me. I was very dirty and had to have a bath before they let her see me. She wouldn't leave and got angry and said she would wait. I was so happy to see her. She picked me up and held me close to her chest and told me she loved me and wasn't going to leave me there any longer. She told the lady that since they wouldn't tell her what was wrong with me and why I was at the hospital, she was going to take me anyway to her doctor, and her doctor would take care of me instead. They told her that she had to wait until the next day or so until I got my shots. She was very angry and said she would be back to see me every day until I could go home with her. It was 3 days, and they came to get me, and I finally went home with them. I felt bad leaving the others behind. I was so happy in my new home, but it wasn't long before I was sick again. They took me to many doctors and specialists. I lost my hair and had sores on my skin. I didn't want to eat and gave up living. But my new mommy force-fed me baby food and ice chips 6 times a day and sometimes more. She bathed me frequently to soothe my skin and to clean me when I got messy from going to the bathroom. She held me close and told me to fight and not give up. They loved me and would do anything to make me better. She cooked food for me and blended it up, and it was yummy. I got better slowly. I was so thankful to my family for not giving up on me. I don't think I would have made it without them. That's what my doctor said. My mommy says I am one of the most expensive saved pets around. But she loves me anyway, and I am lucky they chose me. Today, that's Leo. Now, from Michelle, the owner. Michelle's from Wading River. Dear Town Board, Leo has purchased from Sportsman's Kennel. I have never purchased a dog from a commercial breeder before and grew up only with rescues. I had heard of this place and passed it many times. It has been around for many years and gave me a false sense of security because it didn't look like the puppy mills I had read about or seen on TV. I read the reviews. Some people had good experiences and some people had very bad experiences. But I chalked that up to routine business. Some people aren't always satisfied. In the past, I had gone to many pet stores, not looking to purchase, but to look at and play with the puppies. And it was apparent that some of these dogs were sick and not cared for. One such place was the puppy store in the mall, that's Smith Haven Mall, which was finally closed down. It was too late for me after I fell in love with this puppy to listen to my better judgment. He was a product of a puppy mill disguised as a reputable breeder. I asked to see the parents, but they told me they weren't on site, and I wasn't able to see them. He became sick between the date of purchase and when I was able to pick him up. A friend had also purchased a KCC, but from a different litter, and she became sick also with different medical issues. Some of the staff I dealt with were not the nicest, considering I was spending a lot of money on the now sick dog. But as I said, it was too late for us. It was love at first sight. I will say they did offer me a credit for another dog, but he was not disposable to us, so I declined. I have never regretted my decision. The only regret I have is not having the money or ability to get all the dogs out of there. But as it goes with the puppy mills, they just restock the supply and it's never ending. I feel that I had purchased him. I feel that I had not purchased him, he wouldn't have gotten the medical attention they had given him. And when it looked like he was sicker than they thought, they offered to replace him. That was when I truly realized that the scope of the callousness. He was such a commodity ready to be replaced, not a living animal that deserved a chance. I don't want to think of the horrors that would have happened to him had I not spoken for him. Would they have just let him die? I think so, judging by my experience and interactions with them. I often wonder what happened to the others that no one purchased or spoke for. Are they callously discarded? He was sick on and off until just after his first birthday. For a while, it looked like he wouldn't make it. Many trips to the specialist and different types of treatments. But he pulled through and has thrived since. He's now 6 years old. So I ask on behalf of the dogs and the people out there to stop puppy mill pipelines. If people want a specific breed, there is a way of getting one from a reputable breeder. Breed rescues and adoptions. There are so many dogs at shelters waiting for forever homes. We have all seen the horrors on how dogs are bred and treated at these mills. If you have any compassion in your soul for animals, then you will back this legislation that puts animals before profits. I only pray that the animals already born in this vicious cycle find loving and caring homes, and no more dogs will suffer. As I said, I don't regret my decision to purchase Leo. I was fortunate to be able to pay for medical treatment, and more importantly, the time to care for him, which was extensive. but he has blossomed into a healthy, happy dog that gives nothing but unconditional love to all he meets. I frequently pass by the place, and it does bother me that in purchasing him from there, I was part of a bigger problem. That to replace him, they bred more dogs, and I wonder what happened to them. That's from one of our constituents. And I know these people personally. The dog is a wonderful animal. I know Sportsman Kennel since I was a kid, and I was raised out in Mount Sinai. And it's not about putting people out of business. I'm a businessman. It's about taking care of animals, taking care of the ones that can't take care of themselves. The ones that the kids, when I worked at the university with kids that come in as a freshman, they get a dog. When they go home for the summer, we'd have to take these dogs to the pound and they'd euthanize them. Okay, it's time we stop this stuff. It's time that this town be a leader. Be a leader instead of a follower. They say, well, a great idea comes to Riverhead that dies. Well, we've got a great idea here, and let this one blossom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up? Good afternoon.
Hey, my name's Keith Lew. I own Puppy Experience in Akabog. I just can't believe actually what I'm hearing today. Letters written by dogs, conspiracy theorists. We obviously can't trust you. You're the government, because we can't trust the United States government or the New York State government or the Suffolk County government to regulate this business. So how can we trust you? Because right now, we have USDA regulated breeders that are getting inspected all the time by the United States government. They're going on transportation vehicles with veterinary inspections, going to the Department of Transportation, making sure that's all legit. They come to New York State. We have New York State Ags and Markets that inspect our stores, that are checking the breeders. We go through Suffolk County Consumer Affairs. They're constantly checking. We have the ASPCA. If somebody, customer feels something's not right, they call the ASPCA. They come down, they inspect. We're not against regulations. We welcome regulations. We welcome regulations so much that when I bought that store, I didn't like the way it was run at all. The first thing I did is I went to that North Fork Animal Welfare League, and I got a meeting with that Jillian Wood, who's running it. I said, you know, we have a great video we do every week. We have a lot of puppies on it. We like to show our customers all our new puppies. Could we possibly put one of your rescue dogs on the end of that video? Could we put a rescue puppy on the end of the video every week so we could find homes for your dogs? Her response, I would never let you mess with our funding. I said, your funding? What are you talking about? If we had no animals here, why would we need any donations? Why would we have any funding? Go on their website. Riverhead deals with them. Southold deals with them. Why don't you foil them and see how much money they have? How'd they just buy the Scotiaire Kennels on Church Lane? Where's their money? Where are they getting it from? Every page of their website is donate, 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 donate. My other company, our customers, I see them, they die, they give their stuff to the North Fork Animal Welfare League. Foil their information. Foil all these rescue groups. Find out how much money they got. The 501c3s, they'll tell you. We want to be regulated. We want the right thing. And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that have a little baby, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. You know what? They just don't want a pit bull. It's strange, crazy. They want a cute dog. So yeah, we want to be able to offer people what they want, but we want it to be regulated from safe businesses. We've never bought any dog from Pennsylvania, Ohio, any of these Amish breeders, and there's horror stories, like this lady was trying to paint this horror story in your head. There's horror stories out there, but not what we deal with, because we're regulated by the United States government. So if I can't trust them, how can we trust you? Because we're all the government, right? There's a lot of conspiracy theories going on. We're listening to letters written from dogs here. We just need some reasonable, be smart. Why give away all your regulation? When you get a dog from us, if it has an issue, we're responsible for it. We don't want any issues. If there's issues with the dogs, we didn't make any money. We have to give you all your money back. You got the dog for free. We paid all the vet bills. We just bought the dog and gave it away and lost money. Why would we ever want to do that? Why ever? We want the healthiest dogs going to the best families. We don't need conspiracy theorists in government. If we have people in this town that don't trust the United States government, they don't trust Suffolk County government, they don't trust New York State government, we don't need them in Riverhead. We want to do business the right way, the correct way. And yes, we don't turn away at regulations, but I want you to look at the regulations you have. I want you to look at the employees that we're employing, the sales tax we're providing to New York State. I want you to look at all that stuff. And please, foil these other groups. Find out where they get their dogs. Every dog we get, there's a paper trail. You'll know exactly how many dogs were bred from that breeder. Everything is documented. Everything we do is documented. Read the paper, the black and white. It does not lie. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Good. Next. Good afternoon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emilio, and
What's your last name, Emilio?
My name is Emilio Ortiz.
And where are you from?
I'm from New York City.
Okay.
I'm a pet store worker in Manhattan.
Okay.
And I'm also part of Puppy, People United to Protect Pet Integrity. And I just want to say, after hearing some of these, some people speak today, what was your name? I'm sorry. Karen. Karen? Carol. Everything that Carol said is true of certain breeders and true of certain pet stores, but it's not reflective of the industry as a whole. We can't just take these bad examples and smear everybody and say every single breeder is like this, every single commercial kennel is like this, because that isn't true. And I know this because I've personally visited the breeders that we work with. I've personally visited a lot of the breeders in Missouri and in Indiana that pet stores source their dogs from. I have videos on the internet that I put up where I show the mothers, where I show where they're from, and these are just really, really, like, this is overgeneralizing an entire group of people. And as somebody that's worked at a pet store for the past, 10 years, man, dealing with this negative stigma, dealing with people saying, oh yeah, you support animal abuse, you support this, you support that, or you're just in it for the money, or this, that. Like, I'm a real human being. The people that work at these stores are real human beings. The breeders that breed these dogs are real human beings. And you get accused of all this egregious, crazy things. And I think we just have to step back and kind of examine the entire marketplace as a whole, right? I'm proud of working at a pet store because we have transparency, accountability, consumer protection, and government oversight written into law. Out of all the establishments that you can source where you can get a dog from, rescue organizations, municipal animal shelters, breeders, or pet stores are the most strictly regulated. Pet stores are the most scrutinized. Pet stores are under a microscope. Any tiny little thing that goes bad gets blown up. It's like, oh, you see? It doesn't make any sense to me. Where, if this bill were to pass, if you were to put this into law, you'll say, oh, you could only source your dog from, pet stores can only source their dogs from a shelter or a rescue. But do shelters and rescues have transparency, consumer protection, and oversight written into law? What happens if a dog gets sick? Are they going to get compensated? Do they have recourse? Who's to say that those dogs that are in that shelter, where are they from? How are they being sourced? Are they coming from puppy mills? Are they coming from breeders? There's no way to know because we don't have any transparency written into law that governs that. I think that there needs to be universal, standardized regulations implemented on pet stores, on breeders, on rescues and shelters. They need to be regulated evenly. Because these regulations, the consumer protection, the transparency, having to disclose the source before you sell the dog, all of this disincentivizes bad behavior. It disincentivizes bad actors. Why would we ever get a dog from a place that abuses their dogs and leaves them in squalor? That makes no sense. We want to have a happy, healthy dog. We don't want to have a negative reputation. We want our customers to have a good experience. So to sit here and say, and to project on us, oh, you guys are just in it for the money. Oh, you guys lie about where you get your dogs from, this or that. No. The reality is, so many people come to our stores because, despite these accusations, because they trust us, because we're transparent, because they have legal recourse. All these things are the reason people choose us. And if shelters and rescues, which are being positioned as the alternative, don't even offer that, then it's the consumer that loses at the end of the day. And I don't know, this is my first time speaking and something like this, so I'm a little nervous, and I'm passionate about what I do. And a customer, when they're looking to get a dog, right now, especially in the year 2021, after everything we've been through with COVID and the pandemic and all these things, the customers, people that are searching for a dog, are more than ever looking for predictability, safety, transparency, and consumer protection. This is what they're looking for. They're looking for a safe place where they can meet a dog in person, where they have all the information available to them prior to purchase so that they can make the most educated decision. But these laws like this have been passing all over the United States, making it even harder for people to truly get the dog that they want, which further empowers the bad actors that aren't regulated in the first place. So this isn't coming from consumers. There aren't people that are asking for this. Like the overwhelming majority of the people that come into our store are satisfied. They get a healthy dog. They refer us to their friends, to their family, because they had a good experience. And I don't think it's fair to just judge the entire industry by some bad actors. There's thousands of breeders out there. We're going to sit here and say thousands of breeders are these evil, abusive people that are mistreating their dogs? No, of course not. I think we need to stop looking at things as adopting versus shopping and rescues and shelters versus pet stores and breeders. I think we need to look at it as responsible establishments versus irresponsible establishments. The bad pet stores, the bad breeders, the bad shelters, the bad rescues that take advantage of people that aren't honest about how they treat their dogs or keep them in bad conditions, those should all be shut down. But we shouldn't pass a law that's going to hurt good, honest business people, good, honest, like workers, I guess. Like, it's just, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Look at everything from the perspective of responsible establishments and irresponsible establishment, instead of labels like puppy mill, rescue, adopt, shop, this, that. No. Judge each establishment by how they treat their dogs, how honest they are, how transparent they are, and how many people are willing to stand up for them. So, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. What?
I can go to physical therapy.
You want me? Thanks, Tim.
Good afternoon. I really didn't come here to speak on this.
How are you? Can you identify?
This is Mary Beth. I am Mary Beth Andresen.
From where?
I live at 127 Church Lane,
Okay.
Aquabog.
How you doing? You're back, huh?
I'll be back again, too. I want to tell you, it's very interesting listening to Mr. Schwartz saying there is no such thing as a puppy mill. And in May, in New York State, the state Senate passed a bill titled S1130, which officially bans the sale of puppy mill animals. Amazing. The state referred to it, but there is no such thing. It hasn't passed in the House yet, but it's there. I have had dogs my entire life, and I'm married to a veterinarian. And I have bred some dogs. I have shown many, many dogs. I have shown dogs to their full championships and in obedience, and never bred them. Irish setters, there's too many out there. So I'm what I would consider a responsible breeder. However, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people that show dogs that I wouldn't buy a dog from. They're not a puppy mill per se, but sometimes the conditions are deplorable. Yet, they go by the fact that I show these dogs and I'm this with that, and therefore I have the best. In addition, we have a big problem in this country because of the designer dogs. Designer dogs have done nothing more than flood the market with mutts called designer dogs. My cockapoo, I can't even remember all the names of them. They're nothing but mutts. When they're being bred, it's just adding to the population of dogs. Very sad situation is, I have bought a lot of horse equipment from the Amish community because we have horses and we drive horses. And they make the harness and they make the wagons. And I have been to their homes and I've been to their places, and many, many of them have dog mills on the side. I've seen them. Rat terriers is a big number for them. This is a problem. There are dogs out there. I don't know what the answer is, but there's also a problem with the internet, as we just heard before. My girlfriend lost her husband last year to COVID. My girlfriend's a lovely woman, never had an animal in her life. Joanne is much too clean for that. But after COVID, and after losing her husband, she was devastated. And she called me up and said, I want to get a puppy. I almost freaked out. I said, what? Joanne, your house has carpet marks from vacuuming. This will never do. She went on the internet and she bought a Cavapoo. Now, I want to tell you something. If this is a Cavapoo, I'm George Washington. Because it doesn't have a curl on its body. It does have a nice little cavalier face. The other part looks like it might have been an Irish setter. It's long and it's red. And no curls. So there is a lot. I think this is a bigger situation than we can address right now at this time. I'm all for adoption. I think it's wonderful. I've adopted dogs. My daughter went to California on a family trip and adopted a pit bull puppy outside a restaurant in California, flew home, and flew back the following week to get the dog. So we're all about that too. But I think this is a bigger problem, and I don't know how you're going to address it. Good luck.
Mary Beth?
Yeah.
I said thank you.
Oh, sorry. I didn't do what you said. I'm old, you know.
No, you're not. How you doing?
Hi, I'm
Good.
Pam Green, and I'm the director of Kent Animal Shelter in Calverton.
Okay.
We're no-kill, not-for-profit animal shelter. We've been there since 1968.
I don't think it's on.
Yeah. Okay. It's definitely on. He's reading it as on. Just move it towards you.
So, our facility organization has been there since 1968. I've been the director since 1985. There's so much misinformation flying around this room today that I don't even know where to begin, and no one wants to sit here for hours and hours for me to poke holes in the things that people said here today. I'd like to thank the town council from the bottom of my heart for addressing this issue. It's so important. There is absolutely definitions of puppy mills, and they're all bad, okay? And to say that a not-for-profit just rakes in money and takes people's money, they all have millions of dollars in the bank, that's, I don't know where he got that from, because it's not true. And we don't get our animals from puppy mills. The only time that we possibly get animals from puppy mills, the ones that are missing a leg, missing an eye, are in horrific condition, emaciated, come from puppy mills when they toss them out. They're 8 years, 10 years, 12 years old. These dogs have been in cages under the most horrific conditions that you can imagine. Carol Sclafani, I don't know Carol personally. She's spot on everything she said. These pictures, have a look. That's where these puppies are coming from. Every pet shop on Long Island is getting their puppies from puppy mills, commercial breeding or establishments. And it's all about money. And to say that rescues and animal shelters are not regulated, that's strange, because we have a license at Kent, and so does every animal shelter. We've had the USDA at the shelter. Don't tell me they're not regulated, because again, that is just total misinformation. And I don't know what this conspiracy theory thing is, because there's no conspiracy theories. Go to a puppy mill. If they let you in, you'll probably come out with some buckshot in you. But you will see firsthand what we're talking about. There's about 3,000 of them in Missouri. I have a dog at home that I got from a puppy mill transport where we got the discards about 8 years ago. This dog did not know how, he was emaciated, he didn't know how to walk on grass. He was a disaster. These animals are scarred physically and emotionally when they, imagine being in a cage for 10 years, breeding over and over again. And, you know, they're not, these mills, yes, they're regulated by the USDA. Some guy, they don't have enough inspectors, they never did. So some guy shows up once a year and says, oh, yeah, you need to correct this, and this. And then the guy disappears for about another year. And nothing ever happens. Because the USDA is a livestock agency to regulate, like, they companion animals? No. And they don't have the people. They don't have the people to do it. So don't let them tell you that we're closing down their businesses and you know, we're trying to take away their, livelihood. It's just not true. They can exist without selling puppies. We just got one about 2 weeks ago. Someone bought it at a local pet shop. It was $2,400. I mean, really? You can just go out and spend $2,400 on a puppy, and yes, they do have genetic defects, some of them. They have medical problems. I've seen it. I've been at Kent Animal Shelter for 35 years. I've seen what comes in. Where do we get our animals from? Someone was asking, where do they come from? We get them from shelters that will kill them, and they do it every day. Why? Because they're overwhelmed. They don't have enough space for all these animals. That's where we get our animals from. We save their lives. They're not saving anybody's life. They're saving their own life because they're making tons of money. Sorry if I feel a little bit angry, but when you come down on my shelter and the rescue is about what we do, don't tell me about what we do. I can tell you firsthand. Okay? So, thank you to the council for addressing this issue. I am 100% that we need to do something, and we need to stop the suffering of these animals. Just don't listen to the misinformation. It's not true. It's just not true. And I am happy to sit with anyone till tomorrow, the next day, to educate you. And I will not give you any misinformation. Thank you so much for addressing this issue.
Thank you, Pam.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, how are you? My name is Melissa Ramos from Hampton Bays. I came here, I really wasn't planning on speaking. I just wanted to come to see how the meeting was going. I am an employee of one of the pet stores in the area. I'm from Westchester originally. I worked at a pet store over there as well. And we are very regulated by the state. The dogs have to get vet checked before they're able to go on to the transports. With that, they have a certificate of veterinary inspection, which means that those dogs were checked by a veterinarian and were said that they were okay and nothing was congenitally wrong. When they get to the store, they are quarantined for 7 days away from every other dog in the store. We have a veterinary come in within those 3 days and recheck those dogs for heart murmurs, loose knees, upper respiratories, any symptoms that could be wrong with the puppies. After that 7 days, then they are able to go out onto the sales floor. We have to show breeder information, their address, their USDA number, the puppy's information. They have to be microchipped. They have to be vaccinated every 3 to 4 weeks, on top of getting rabies if they're still there at 4 months. At 4 months, we have to go and pay you guys to license our dogs, because now they're over 4 months and they have all their vaccines. Everybody said basically everything that I wanted to say. I just wanted to come up and get a chance to speak.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else want to come back? Hello?
Hello,
name's also Keith Lewin. I thought it'd be a little confusing with, there's another Keith Lewin in town, but he already spoke, and he
Two Keith
claims...
Lewins in Riverhead.
Right. He claims that he's the owner of the puppy store in Aquebogue, so I don't have to deny that I am. Makes my life simpler. I am a lifelong and multi-generational resident of Riverhead and Calverton. The other Keith Lewin and I share a great-grandfather, so that's why we just happen to have the same names. His name wasn't Keith. Anyway, my point on this was I think that additional regulations may be appropriate. I think that all animal places that sell, give away, however they do it, animals should have regulations. The idea of knowing where the source is, the idea of showing that they've been cared for properly, the idea of showing that they are regulated and under the regulations with USDA, New York State, Suffolk County, whatever, that should be universal, and maybe it is. I don't know. I've heard various things. But I don't think that the town should be in the business of telling a legal business that they cannot do business with another legal business. I mean, if something is illegal, that's fine. But if a farmer wants to buy a chicken from a chicken breeder, nobody can say you can't buy it. And if anybody wants to see really bad living conditions, go to a chicken farm. Go look at an egg-laying facility that has 20,000 chickens in cages. I've done that. I actually have an ag background. I actually visited a chicken farm with stacks of cages where they clean the manure once a year because that's the only time of year they can spread it. So there are really bad conditions out there of many animals. In Riverhead, I'm sure there are plenty of domestic animals, pets, dogs, cats, service animals of various types, even the chickens, livestock, that aren't being kept in the best of conditions. Things in the town we can do something about. You have the ability to pass local regulations that can make those animals' lives better. Going after something that's outside the state and saying, well, we want to close down someplace in Missouri or Ohio, so we're going to put regulations to prevent our people from dealing with anyone who sells a dog, seems to be both overkill and not really what I would expect from a Republican town board. I'm a little libertarian side, and it's, hey, they're doing a business legally. What's the problem? And address the problem. Don't punish the businessman. And the only other thing I have to say is that I've always had rescues. I've purchased them, not purchased them. I've gotten them with an adequate donation from local animal shelters. And I've been told that some of these have come from puppy mills, and they were puppies. They weren't full-grown. I've also brought in full-grown animals that needed to have attention. I've spent $4,000 on my last puppy because it had a genetic defect. I could afford to do it. The animal shelter didn't offer any assistance or didn't offer to take the puppy back, nor would I have given it back. But there are things that can be done. There's things that's in the purview of the town government, and I think you should do them. There's some really good ideas here that have been put out. But I don't think restricting where a business can buy its produce, whether it be a dog, a chicken, potatoes, cauliflower, is something that the town board should get into. I think you should work on what you can do in the town of Riverhead to benefit the people and animals of the town of Riverhead, and that's where you'll have the most effect that will be seen locally. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lewin. Chip, do we have anybody in the waiting room?
We have nobody that's asked to speak.
Nobody's asked to speak. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Carol, we weren't going to forget you. Okay.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, get this mask off. All right. I was talking about the USDA, and I heard today about how we're USDA licensed, we're USDA inspected, and that's where they get their dogs from, the USDA licensed and inspected facilities. You know, first of all, this is not about the pet stores. The pet stores are regulated. Thank God. And the only reason why they're regulated is from animal advocates who went into these pet stores and saw the horrific conditions. And they're all regulated now, and they're all clean. All right, that's great. We're not talking about pet stores. We're talking about where they are getting their animals from. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about animal welfare. We're not talking about when they get to we're talking about how they get to the pet store. That's what we are talking about. I was showing you before. Okay? This is a puppy mill. This is where they get their animals from. This is where they get their animals from. I will reiterate, there no way will a reputable, ethical breeder give their animal to a pet store to sell. No way, no how. It's not happening. Never. Never, never, never. And I'm sure that you're going to be getting letters and phone calls from breeders after this, okay? This is a USDA legal standard size cage. As I said before, USDA, minimal standards. You know what the cage size is? 6 inches taller and 6 inches longer than the dog. Imagine yourself in a cage, 6 inches taller than you and 6 inches wider than you. You live in that cage, okay? This is the USDA standards. This is what we're talking about. They could talk to the blue in the face about we're USDA licensed and regulated breeders. Really? This is what it is, right here, okay? USDA needs to clean up their act. This is the federal government. That's why we on a local level can do something, because the federal government isn't, and we know that by them leaving 51 dogs over there in Afghanistan, in the crates in over 100-degree weather with no water, only to be left there to die and to be shot. That's our federal government, okay? So yeah, so it's up to us. We are the ones, okay? So that's the USDA, first of all. Nobody is putting the pet stores out of business like we said before. We are not doing that at all. That's not the intent of this legislation, okay? All right. What I heard also was about the health certificates, okay? Let's talk about the health certificates, because that's very important. Our store's puppies are healthy, and they come with a health certificate from a licensed veterinarian. Well, yes, they should, all right, because the law states that the brokers have to supply a health certificate from a vet in order to transport the animals. You know what this health certificate entails? You know what kind of exam it entails? And don't forget, these are the puppies, all right, the puppies. It's a wellness exam. They check the eyes, they check the nose, they check the teeth to see if they have teeth, they check the ears, all right, they feel it to see if there's any lumps and bumps, they check the tail, they check the anus, okay, they check the feet. That's it. They don't check for parasites, they don't check for genetic diseases or anything like that. They don't do nothing like that. It's just a wellness, and then the vet signs off, and the vet will give you a certificate, because that's the law. They have to, all right? That doesn't mean that, oh, my dogs are great, my dogs are healthy. That's why these people, all right, with the consumers, they're bamboozled into believing that they have a healthy dog because, see, it's health certified, okay? They're giving the dog only to spend, like Mr. Lewin just proved our point, thousands of dollars because that animal was sick. That's what we're talking about because of where that animal came from. It comes from the puppy mills, period. That's why in New York State, you know, their bill was called the puppy mill bill, okay? Why do you think? Because it's called the puppy mill bill because that's where the animals come from. Talking about the current legislation, all right, I'm going to read it. While this law pertains to the welfare of animals in retail pet stores and that have been acquired from puppy mills, we still need to address the entire animal welfare and puppy mill cruelty on the federal and state levels. But we know that our federal government isn't about animal welfare, okay, because of what's been transpiring with the USDA, their inspectors, et cetera, et cetera. In 2014, the governor signed legislation that authorized local municipalities, which is us, to adopt their own laws regulating or licensing pet dealers. It was called the Puppy Mill Bill, okay? It was designed to crack down on puppy mills and bad breeders who place profit above the health and safety of animals. If a municipality chose to adopt a more stringent local law, enforcement will be the sole responsibility of the municipality. In this new legislation, this new law will be enforced by our own Waltham code enforcement officers, okay? On July 21st, 2020, the New York State Senate passed Senate Bill 4234-A, what's being called the New York Puppy Mill Pipeline Bill, banning the retail sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits. Okay, this was passed in the New York State Senate. With 77 New York pet shops currently selling dogs and cats, a statewide retail ban would deny animal mills access to the largest market. The New York State Senate Domestic Animal Welfare Committee voted 7-0 to pass Senate 4234. Okay? Unfortunately, the New York State Assembly stalled the same legislation. Okay? And it's still in the New York State Assembly, and that's where it's at because the lobbyists. Okay? Many local municipalities throughout the country have passed retail pet sales ordinances, including 7 in upstate New York, along with several states passing legislation on a state level, as well, of course, well, not New York State. New York State wasn't one of them, because it's still stuck in the Assembly. All right, in concluding, I just want to say, there is a plethora of information at your fingertips, literally, at your keyboard, all right? We have the capsweb.org, all right? No Pet Store Puppies, the ASPCA, StopPuppyMills.com, the Humane Society of the United States. Some organizations are extremists, okay, without a doubt. But there's a plethora of information. You cannot deny the documentaries that are out there. You cannot deny it. You can't say, oh, this is all fabricated. It's not. This is where they're getting their puppies from. They're getting them from the puppy mills. There's documentaries, The Shocking Truth About Puppy Mills. That's what I make my students watch, by the way. I told them, look, if it's too heavy for you, you close your eyes. But I want you to know what a puppy mill is. And each and every one of them have told me, thank you so much, because they didn't even know what a puppy mill was. Obviously, people here don't know what a puppy mill was, because they say puppy mills don't exist, whatever. The reality of puppy mills, that's why the Humane Society of the United States, that's another documentary. And I could go on, all right? A puppy-friendly pet store will implement puppy-friendly policies by refusing to sell puppies in their store and supporting homeless pet adoptions instead, okay? This legislation encourages pet stores to take a stand against puppy mills and to make official their policy of not selling puppies, just like the other 3 pet stores here in this town does, okay? But instead, assist our local shelters and our own municipal shelter, okay, in the adoption of homeless cats and dogs. That's Norfolk Animal Welfare League. Partner up with Cat Animal Shelter, okay? Get those dogs adopted. You care? You can do that. And then in the meantime, as they're adopting these dogs out, helping the homeless pet situation, okay? They could be selling the retail stuff like this, you know, they have in their store. They have the beds, they have the collars, they have the leashes, they have all this stuff there. What better way, okay? Instead of selling the puppy mill dogs, okay? This bill is a no-brainer. Immediately upon passing a bill such as this, something incredible will happen. We stop the growth of this horrific practice of handling the dogs. Word gets around that it's just not a lucrative business anymore. With the pet stores unable to purchase from the mills, the supply decreases, dogs are not replaced. The tiny, filthy stores, they lived in their lives talking about the puppy mills, because I'm not talking about the pet stores, because I'm sure with all the regulations, and they're right, absolutely right. The Suffolk County just passed legislation in 2014, okay, about the pet stores. They make it harder for them, but they still can buy puppy mills to sell in their stores. But they're regulated. They're right, okay? But they're still getting them from the puppy mills, all right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about here animal welfare. And of course, as the lobbyists and naysayers will tell you, when you adopt a dog from the shelter or rescue, you don't know of their plight, of what health issues they'll have down the line. And they're right. But you know what? At least you know that, number one, what you're doing is right. You're rescuing that dog, you're adopting that dog, and you might have vet bills just the same, but you're not bamboozled about it, okay? You're not being told that this is a healthy dog, and plus, when you buy puppies, don't forget, they're puppies. The vet cannot possibly know what that dog is going to come up with 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. All right? They can't know. One of the best things that can come out of this is that the pet stores and the shelters and the rescue centers, legitimate rescue centers, by the way, and I'm not going to go into that because there was a whole thing about rescues and how they were, one attorney general went after them, okay, because there's scammers all over the place, including over the internet. There's scammers. One of the best things is that the pet stores and the shelters and the rescue centers have discussions on how they can help each other with their mission by bringing some of these homeless dogs into the pet stores. And why not? Why not? Look, I bought my first dog from a pet store when I was 18 years old. Back in 1976, I was my first dog I bought from a pet store, only because that dog was 4 months old and I thought I was going to rescue it. So I bought it, okay? And because I said, you know what, nobody else is going to want a 4-month-old dog. Everybody else is looking for puppies. It was the best thing I ever did. But I realized afterwards that as soon as I removed that dog from that cage, another one went in, okay? Because it's a supply and demand. You buy a puppy from a pet store, another one comes in. And they cannot deny that they don't get their puppies from a puppy mill, all right? Because there are receipts. Okay, they can't deny they may not get it from the Amish in Pennsylvania, but they certainly get them from Ohio, from Minnesota, from Missouri, all right? They get it from Cruz, from the brokers that I mentioned earlier, all right? They can't deny that. That's where they get them from, all right? Once again, we can't control the puppy mills. We cannot control the puppy mills. That's something that maybe our federal government can do, and we can't control the internet or the rescue scams that are going on, because that's going on. My grandson almost got hooked into one of them, all right? But we can sever the puppy mill pipeline. That's what this is all about. In closing, I want to put out there just one word: integrity. Integrity, okay? Integrity means doing the right thing. One of the groups called PUPPI, right? Pet integrity, not so much. What's integrity? Integrity is, thank you, Councilman Rothwell, for your integrity, and I want to thank Councilman Tim Hubbard also for his integrity by doing the right thing, by pushing this forward, knowing that this was the right thing to be doing. All right, and of course I thank everybody else on the town board also, and of course our town attorney for helping. But to be unwavering like this, kudos to you. I give you a lot of credit, and the people are lucky for you to represent them. They really are. And I think that's about it. But like I said, think about where you got your dog from. Think about how they can't deny they get their animals from the puppy mills because there's receipts, okay? And think about Harley, what happened to him in the puppy mills, and these are puppy mills, for real. Think about the standards, think about everything. And like I said, there's a plethora of information, and just go for it and educate yourself, because that's what's needed. They need us. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you all.
All right, Carol, thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Hi, Takwi Turchin from Calverton. And in listening today to all the presentations that came before us, I just have something rather short and sweet to say. I understand animals are not humans. They don't have, we're not trying to elevate them to that status, but I do understand that domesticated animals are our responsibility, and we are to be stewards of their good care and health. And so in keeping that in mind, please let that guide you in decisions that you make according to the information that you heard today. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Toki. Anybody else? And we have no one on the internet?
Nobody's asked to speak.
Okay, we're moving. All right, anyone from the board want to add? Nope. Okay, so we're not going to close this public portion. Huh? Okay.
Medical appointment.
So we're going to close this portion of the public hearing, and I'm going to leave it open for written comments until 4:30 PM on September 20th, 2021, at the town clerk's office. It is now 4:26, and the public hearing is now closed. Okay. We're going to move on to public comments on the resolutions before us today, before they're read. Anyone from the public who would like to make a comment specifically on the resolutions, please come forward. Mary Beth, you're back?
Not on the resolution,
Okay,
Yeah, I'm back.
good, welcome.
Trust me, I will be back often.
You're the female Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger. Okay, Mr. McCall, if you're back.
Yes, I'm back. and-
Okay, so-
And I'm back because you're not Zooming this part of the meeting, and so I've been representing other people that can't be
Okay.
here for one reason or another. I also would, again, John McAuliffe from Rolling Woods or Roanoke Landing in Riverhead. I'd also note that apparently the timer clock works on some people and not on other people, but that's just to note in passing. And I will be brief. Also, I should state that I am not here on behalf of EPCAL Watch at this point. These are two other matters.
Mr. McCall, did you know that public hearings, usually we don't give a time
You
frame?
then why did you go through all of that that introductory material?
Yeah, because that's normal, that's usually the
Right,
process.
the implication of the way you read all of the material about timing.
I didn't read it, the attorney did,
protocol.
who did the research, and the deputy, yeah.
Okay, all right, so you.
Yeah, that public
So
hearing
you're
is very different.
stipulating there's no limit on
The-
public hearing times.
Usually there isn't, but we can set as a board, yes, we can set that, so.
Okay.
But it's 5 minutes, and it's an option that we've elected. Open meetings laws state that you don't have to give the public an option. I know
Okay.
we've read this before, and so we are allowing 5 minutes.
I would
okay?
just say there may be some subjective factors
Okay.
involved in that, but again, I
Okay,
have
so
no
get to the
intention of
topic.
going,
Well, there's no limit on public hearing comments.
okay, well, we'll make that also should be then in the rules clearly to everybody. So, I noted the lack of the Zoom that now under the new governor's recommendations, you do have the option to change the way meetings are handled, and you could put Zoom back in without any problem. I have two resolutions, though, that I'm representing concerns about. One is number 577, the reappointment of Jean Marie Costello to the Board of Ethics. It's no comment upon her. It is a concern that, as with other committees, that these things are not publicly notified, and there is no effort to find out whether there are candidates that would be superior to it in a particular appointment. This is the same issue that I've raised before. I also would, I don't know what obviously gender is not an issue in this one, as opposed to some of the other boards, but I don't know what the partisan shape of this one is. I remember when EPCAL Watch did bring Ms. Giglio to the Board of Ethics, and an extended process went on. We had some concern, and there were some reports that the Ethics Board was not, in fact, balanced politically, and so I would put that simply on the table, and also put on the table the fact that there should be a public notice and application procedure whenever committees are appointing or reappointing. Finally, on the appointment of Mr. LaPinta, on the issue that's coming to the Board of Ethics, again, this may be in the packet that was not accessible online, but I was asked to ask if you could explain why it is necessary to hire an outside counsel for this particular matter. Again, not going into the substance of the ethics complaint, which is confidential, but to ask procedurally why an attorney is being handled. So those are my two representations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
Are you going to answer that question, or this is sort of let it drop? The question is, why are you hiring? The question is, why are you hiring counsel for that?
Okay,
Can you
we
just
don't have to
explain that?
necessarily
Yeah, you're right, you
debate,
don't
it's a
have to
comment
respond.
section, so if the attorney would like to respond, he can.
I know that we asked the town board when the prior investigation was going on that it would be better to have an objective third-party attorney do the investigation. I believe that was put on the record during that investigation. We feel the same here. The attorney was actually recommended to us by the member of the ethics board who's being reappointed, Jean Marie Costello. We felt highly of him and his integrity. And that was the reason why he's been put forth as counsel to do this ethics investigation and write the determination.
Okay. All right, thank you. Hi.
Hello, Gwen Mack, Church of the Harvest Food Pantry. I just have a question. How do you get a resolution untabled? Because the COVID CARES Act was tabled at the last board meeting, town board meeting. How do you get it untabled?
The person, anybody can untable.
Okay.
They just need a second opinion, right? A second,
When they're
Need a
telling
second
you to
to
talk
take it off the
louder,
table.
can you
I'm
just
sorry.
pull the mic down? I can take
yeah.
Okay.
So anyone at any time can, as long as it's second, and then people can vote on it.
Can you do it now, or it has to be, go to a work session first?
It's, Bob, that's a legal question. Very rarely do they do it instantaneously. Usually it's prepared or people speak about it the day before. Bob?
Well, I mean, I think usually the board is kind of aware whether it's going to come off the table or not. They don't, it hasn't been done as sort of a springing thing, but it can be brought off the table. Now, the resolution that would come off the table is the same one that I think you objected to.
Sure.
And asked that it be tabled.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did, but eventually I want some money.
I know,
So-
I know.
So you want it
I know.
untabled?
I know.
Yes, I want it untabled so I can speak on it.
I thought that got on tape.
No, it's
No,
still on
it's
the table.
tabled.
It's still on the table because I think there was,
Because I know I can't make a
Because-
comment now because
because
it's not untabled.
you
It's
can
not
make a
resolution.
comment at the end of the meeting,
End
at
of
the
the
general
meeting, you
time
can share
period if
anything.
you want.
I-
You don't, you can wait for the resolutions to be adopted, and then you can make a comment at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, great. Toki, yep. Okay.
Hi, Tucker Church in Calverton. I was just waiting to see if there were other folks who wanted to speak before me. Specifically, number 566, the resolution on the publish and post of the notice of proposed law to impose a 12-month moratorium on the development of commercial energy, solar energy production systems. I do want to bring to mind, to the board's mind, that the perfect time for this moratorium was 12 months ago, when we submitted from the Calverton Civic an extensive letter requesting that type of moratorium, and including other moratoriums, other items in the moratorium, like other large industrial projects at the time. Its appearance in these 2 months ahead of November elections is at best disingenuous, and otherwise a product of the catchphrase, silly season. I have heard comments from the board that somehow this is to the benefit of folks in Calverton, with the hundreds of acres of ground solar already slated to arrive. You're closing the barn door after the cows have left. Thank you very much.
Toki,
You talk to me?
hold on a second.
It's Tockley.
Tockley,
And I figured you might want to know.
okay, thank you. I did propose this moratorium well over a year ago, and I didn't have the support of the board. And then Councilman Hubbard asked me recently, and we said if I have to support, and I think I have to support now, and that's going to come up to vote. But this definitely was brought up well over 12 months ago, And so we're going to move down. Catherine, you had something?
Yeah, actually, the reason that it didn't have the support of the board was because the two major projects in Calverton were excluded. So to me, that moratorium that was brought up before was bogus. You know, and actually, let's look at it, the one is a friend of yours whose project went through, so that was definitely disingenuous. However, at this time, you know, I think we have no choice but to still pause and move forward with a moratorium, but certainly it would have been better if it was done earlier with those two projects included. You now have 660 acres of solar going into Calverton.
Okay, I know this has been explained over and over and over and over again. When you create a moratorium, it is our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that we do not go and become an overseller's government and not grandfather projects that are in the pipeline. And if we do, we will be under an Article 78, we will be paying the legal fees, including one of the projects was at a state level, and they get the certification from the state. Bob, can you please add to this and assist the councilwoman in understanding what an Article 70 is?
No, I clearly understand.
Okay.
I don't need it to be explained.
Okay.
I am very clear on understanding how all of this went down, and it is tossed around all the time. You know, we seem to move forward with things in Riverhead that the community doesn't want quite often, with this fear of we're going to get a lawsuit. So, you know, that gets tossed around a lot, and I'm not buying it.
Okay. Bob, can you please explain the purpose of a moratorium, what Article 78 is, and the reason that we have projects, we cannot make a blanket legislation when we've had projects spend thousands and thousands of dollars and then put a hold on them and tell them to go away. Yeah, use it, because it is a little
The
complicated.
moratorium aspect is fairly easy. It's to put a brake on things and to allow for matters to be put on hold while the town board is in the process of, you know, its update to the master plan. So that part is an easy discussion, and I think everybody understands what a moratorium is. Not necessarily well-liked, not necessarily something that always works out well, but the moratorium aspect is very simple. On the other point, I've sent this board a memorandum with what I thought was an attorney-client communication. I'd rather not discuss the specifics of that attorney-client communication in public, as I think it could somehow be considered to be a breach of the attorney-client privilege, and therefore no longer entitled to the confidentiality that was afforded by its transmittal. It is a fact-sensitive issue. I will just make one observation, and it doesn't have to do with the particulars of this particular matter. It has to do with another lawsuit that the town had to address for some 16 years. We all know it. It was Calverton Manor. In that particular case, there were, I think, 4 or 5 separate litigations that were commenced. One of them that included an allegation for special facts. That aspect is true. Whether that would have happened or whether it wouldn't have happened, again, we can guess whether we would have faced any challenges should the moratorium have been adopted last year. I'm not sure what else to add.
And that was one case. So the lawyer for Nextera, which was one of the projects that was excluded from the moratorium, was Mr. LaSquadro, and didn't he preside over your nomination?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Did Mr. LaSquadro, the lawyer for the Nextera project, which got excluded from the moratorium in Calverton, did he preside over your nomination?
This isn't answering a question. I could say that he is the parliamentarian for the Republican Party, and he has been to Republican conventions, and he happened to be there. That has nothing to do with I put in that, before my nomination, that was earlier this year, I put in the the moratorium a year before that. So
You
let's not
excluded
bring
his
politics.
project.
Let-
But you excluded his
I
project.
had to exclude it. It was at the request of the attorney. That we cannot just go and create regulations and cut people off who spent thousands of dollars, and we've told them to get surveys, to do CEQA, to do traffic studies. And you're making this a political issue. It's a moratorium. Either you support it when it goes up to vote, or you don't support it.
Well,
And we should
I'm not
move
making
on.
it, I
You're
have a
making
right,
it
I have a right to speak out on topics. That is my position. I care deeply for this town, and so often I see people who have friends in the right places get things through. And so, yes, I am offended by that, and I have every right to say it.
Stop making accusations, and please stop trying to run your campaign. The taxpayers deserve much more than that. Let's just get the resolutions done. Let's vote, whether you approve of it or not. But we're not in high school. I know you're used to that, but we're not. We need to move on. So can you call the resolutions?
And please do not do those type of remarks. It's very condescending, and we are council mates.
Anyone else that wanted to speak?
So, we don't have Tim here today, so we're gonna have to devise some,
Yeah, I think you're gonna
Take
say.
turns.
This is one coming over
You mean
for us, so
taking
if
turns
anybody
doing
would
this?
pass that, Dan? Thank you. Okay. Resolution 556.
East End Country Kitchens Capital Water Project, number 82115, so moved.
Seconded?
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 557.
EPCAL Sewer Improvement, MGBC LLC, 217 capital project budget adjustment. So moved.
Seconded,
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 558.
General fund budget adjustment, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 559.
BIDMA budget adjustment, so moved.
Second,
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 560.
Approves fireworks application for the Vineyards Golf Club, September 8th, 2021, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 561.
Authorizes designated alcohol service vendors to serve.
Hang on, we're
Whoops.
that's the wrong one.
Pardon me. Ratifies the
Save that for me.
approval. The alcohol one. Ratifies the approval of special event Chapter 255 application for Riverhead Home Depot plant cell extension. So moved.
Second,
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 562.
Authorizes designated alcohol service vendors to serve alcohol at the Riverhead Country Fair Street Festival on Sunday, October 10th, 2021, 10 to 5 p.m. in conjunction with the Riverhead Townscape Incorporated along Main Street between Griffin Avenue and Union Avenue, inclusive of Peconic Avenue and the riverfront. Authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with designated alcohol service vendors and Riverhead Townscape Incorporated. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Well, I want to say that I'm very excited about having the country fair. The country fair has been a long time, great event in Riverhead. And I also want to do a shout out, since we're talking about fairs, to East End Arts, because the sidewalk mosaic last weekend was also wonderful, and I vote yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 563.
This particular resolution states adopts a local law to amend Chapter 217 entitled Buildings, Building Construction Improvements, and Housing Standards of the Riverhead Town Building Code regarding building permit fees. I'm going to ask at this time if the town board would table this, simply the fact that we have this prepared, and so this is ready to go forward. However, we need to do at a work session, discuss the revised building fees, and so that when we can pass them both together, they'll go hand in hand, so that we don't have a resolution that goes forward that's stating that with not being able to provide the current building fees. So this, although this legislation is done, and I agree with it, I think we table it, we determine in a work session what the fees are, and we pass them both together. So I make a motion to have this table, please.
Second to table.
Yes, and Andreas, you'll be there, correct? Okay, because you were very instrumental, and thank you for doing that for us. Perfect.
Rothwell.
Vote, please.
Vote to table. Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Vote to table.
Yes. Resolution 563 has been tabled.
And
Resolution
just
5.
thank you to the building department, they put a lot of time and effort into this, so thank you both, Andreas and Jeff. Thank you.
And this is also going to increase the funds.
Man, we'll get there over time.
We will, so that's good.
Resolution 564.
Adopts local law to amend Chapter 231 of the Riverhead Town Code relating to private fire service mains/hydrants. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 565.
Publish and post for public hearing to amend Chapter 253 of the Code of the Town of Riverhead entitled Outdoor Dining to address the operation of sidewalk cafes. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please. Before we take a vote, Diane, this is something that we needed for our business. This is the lifelines that were sent to our businesses when they got their permits during the pandemic. Fortunately, we lost 3 restaurants, but many were able to recoup just some of the funds that they lost, and now they're going to be able to maybe make up some of those funds. And I want to personally thank the building department working for me a year ago, the entire weekend of Labor Day, Memorial Day, right before the summer, getting this out, getting on a computer. There was no charge to the businesses. Everything was submitted online. Within 2 to 3 days, they got their permits, and it was a big effort. It worked here in Riverhead, and a lot of the towns in Suffolk adopted it, and finally we're going to make it permanent, and just a little bit of work to do on it, because not every restaurant who has taken up space, like in a parking lot, it would apply, but in general, it's going to apply to most of our stores, and it's the least that we can do for our businesses. Can you vote, please?
Rothwell.
Absolutely yes.
Bayrock.
Yes, indeed.
Kent.
So this was something that the downtown committee had talked about a long time, and I did think COVID, actually, good things can come from bad sometimes. And COVID was a good chance for us to try this out, and I thought it worked very well. It's good for the businesses, and I hope that people continue to support our local restaurants and businesses because many of them are still working so hard to recover. And I vote yes.
Aguilar.
Absolutely.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 566.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice of proposed local law to impose a 12-month moratorium on the development of commercial energy, solar energy production systems. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
I will abstain from voting on this as I have in the past.
Kent.
Bob, just one question. I had asked you about the solar at the landfill. I know that's
It's
not involved
accepted.
in this.
It's accepted.
I know. Pardon me?
It's not captured by the moratorium.
I know that. I just wanted to know where it was at, too.
I forgot to check where it is. I think that was such a long time ago, I'm not sure whether it's still
Okay.
alive or not.
Just because I know that was a good amount of revenue for the town.
I don't recall the revenue source. I know it was 2 or 3 years ago at this point in time, I think. I think it was in 2018, if I recall.
Okay.
I'll look
So you
into
can
it.
get back to me on
Yeah,
that?
I will.
I think that it is important for us to take a pause at this time. I vote yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 567.
Authorizes publishing and posting of a notice of hearing amending Chapter 213 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Bicycles, so as to add provisions permitting and regulating operation of electric scooters, including shared electric scooter systems. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 568.
Accepts the retirement of a police lieutenant.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
We're losing some good ones here, I'll tell you that. This is Dave and Tom are gentlemen, not only gentlemen, but top-class police officers in this town, and I vote yes, but I say so sorrowfully.
Kent.
So I do want want to thank Dave Lassard this is for Dave, for all of his many years of service to our town and to our community. He's certainly been a valuable member of our Riverhead Police Department. I wanted to mention that Dave joined the police department in 1988. He was Police Officer of the Year in 1995. He was promoted to Sergeant in 1996 and then promoted to Lieutenant in 2020. So I wish Dave well and thank you for your service. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, I want to thank Dave Lassard, and the upcoming, the next resolution is for his twin brother, a police sergeant, and brother in blue, thank you for your service, and I hope that you move on and have many, many years of retirement and spend it with your family, because I know in law enforcement, we miss a lot throughout the years with our families. And to you, Dave, and the upcoming resolution, best of luck. Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 569.
Accepts the retirement of a police sergeant. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Again, best wishes. I vote yes.
Bayrock.
Tom and Dave will definitely stay busy. They're busy guys anyway. I wish them the best, and I'm going to give a shout out to his daughter Jocelyn, who's one of my favorites. So I vote yes.
Kent.
So I want to thank Tom Lassard for his many years of service to our town. The Lassards, both of them, have been such vital members of our police force, and Tom has always done a wonderful job. I wanted to mention that he joined the police force in 1989. He was also Police Officer of the Year in 1997. He was promoted to Detective 3rd grade in 1999 and then promoted to Sergeant in 1999. So I want to take a moment to thank Dave for all of his work. I wish you well in your retirement. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Best of luck, brother in blue.
Vote yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Resolution adopted. Resolution 570.
Accepts the retirement of a driver messenger. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Best of luck to Linda Okula, a great lady and a steward for the town of Riverhead at our front door every day. Thank you for your service and good luck. Yes.
Kent.
I would also like to take a moment to thank Linda for her work that she did here at Town Hall. It was always nice seeing her when we came in, and I wish her well. I know she'll enjoy spending time with her grandchildren. I actually taught her daughter in 1st grade. So I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, best of luck, Linda.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 571.
Accepts the resignation of a deputy tax receiver. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Is all of Town Hall retiring this week?
Yeah, I know.
Do we have anybody left? I will vote yes.
Bayrock.
Yes, and best of luck to Melissa. Yes.
Kent.
Certainly Melissa Messina will be missed at Town Hall. She was a great part of our tax receiver's office, but she's moved on. I think she's working at Peconic Bay Medical Center, and I wish her well. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Melissa, again, best of luck. Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 572.
Accepts the resignation of a Justice Court clerk. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes, this is for Dawn Buzahoski, who worked in our Justice Court. I know that she has moved on, but I know that the judges spoke very highly of her, and she was a valuable member of our staff over there. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, best of luck.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 573.
Accepts the resignation of a Justice Court clerk. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
And I wish Marissa took her well. I know that she was also a great employee, and I do want to say that it's very challenging over there at the Justice Court. They're working in very difficult conditions and in a really small space, and we need to do everything we can to alleviate that. So I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 574.
Accepts the resignation of a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Frank Seabrook. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Thank you for your service, Frank. Yes.
Kent.
I do have to say this seems to have been done backwards. We voted in the new member already, and even though this letter came in, I believe, to the supervisor's office in June, we are just now voting on the resignation, but I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, this letter was misplaced somewhere and it made it to the clerk's office. It doesn't matter. The CBA can pick, we can pick somebody as long as there is a resignation date. And I'm so sorry that you have to make those silly accusations. But let's move on to the next resolution. I say yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 575.
Ratifies the appointment of a temporary office assistant to the tax receiver's office. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 576.
Appoints a provisional cultural affairs supervisor. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Welcome aboard, Rebecca Korn. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, welcome.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 577.
Reappoints Jean Marie Costello to the Board of Ethics for a 2-year term. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
I'm happy to have Jean Marie back on. I thank her for working for our town, and I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Best of luck.
Resolution 578.
Appoints Anthony M. LaPinta Esquire of Reynolds, Coronia, Gianelli, and LaPinta, PC, as special counsel in connection with the determination of a complaint pending before the Board of Ethics. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 579.
Extends bid for traffic signal emergency repair and additional work. So moved.
Vote please. Oh, do we have a
Seconded.
second?
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 580.
Denial of the special permit application for the Chernoff Professional Building, 323 and 331 Main Road, Aquabog, New York, Suffolk County, map numbers 685-3-8 and 685-3-12-7. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
I definitely think this is the right thing to do here. I actually spoke up on this from the very first day that we looked at this. I don't think a two-story building fits in this area. And Aquabog, certainly it's the rural corridor there. And it really was quite impressive how many people turned out to speak up on this. I feel as though we got 40, maybe 50 letters and emails from this, particularly the people of the Jamesport Civic spoke out. So I think this is good that this is happening, and I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, and I agree with Catherine Kent. This is, we should maintain the charm, the bucolic look, and this was not going to do a service to that area in Aquabog. Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 581.
Classifies proposed town code amendment known as Long Island Workforce Housing Act as a Type 1 action pursuant to SECRA and initiates coordinated review among involved agencies. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
A-Rod.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 582.
Approves extension of security posted by Baiting Hollow Development Group LLC in connection with the residential subdivision entitled Baiting Hollow Club, road and drainage improvements and water key money. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Before the vote, I just want to point out that this resolution, in order to get in queue, had been submitted before the planning board had an opportunity to act on the recommendation, which is described in the third whereas. So I would ask that it be amended in the third whereas to reflect that the resolution that was adopted by the planning board is number 2021-092, which they took up on their September 2nd, 2021 meeting.
Okay.
So where the space is currently in the resolution, if you're looking at it,
Right,
that should be occupied by 092.
right. So we're going to vote as amended, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Rothwell,
Vote as amendment, yes.
Bayrock,
Yes, as amended.
Kent,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes, as amended.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 583.
Finding that the premises known as 17 Wilson Avenue, Riverhead, New York, 11901, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 0600-100-01-00-001-001-000 is an unsafe structure, constitutes a public nuisance, and authorizing action to secure the premises and remove nuisance conditions. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 584.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an amendment to the license agreement with Quinley Incorporated, DBA Bloom. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 585.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute polling place agreement with Suffolk County Board of Elections for the use of George C. Young Community Center and the Riverhead Senior Center for 2021 and 2020 primary and general elections. So moved.
Seconded, but is it 2020 primary elections, Bob, or is it?
2022.
Should be
2022.
2022. We gotta make a correction there.
Good
Yeah,
catch.
and also, I was
Good
just
catch.
looking that up.
We're looking at it
Also,
going,
did
there's
the
something wrong
general
here.
elections pass?
No,
No.
no,
November
Well, the
2020.
primary, right? The
primary,
general-
yeah, but
Okay.
So this is for this November and the following primary in 2022, correct?
it actually is gonna be,
Well, 2021, not
2020.
22.
it's
It's
20
this year's election.
Yeah,
This-
and 2022 primary.
It's
No.
actually
It's done every year.
both primary and general in both years. This document had come into us, it got misplaced. They did do a primary at,
Right, so the primary already,
yeah, so, but we need the agreement because, so it's both primary and general for both calendar years, 2021 and 2022.
Voting as amended.
Yeah, yes. Yes, in the caption, in the body of the resolution, that
It's the dates.
is the right dates.
it
but,
has the dates, yeah, I see it.
It's in the caption.
In
it's
the
wrong.
now,
Yeah,
therefore, let it be resolved.
yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna be 2022 and as adopted, as amended. Okay, so do we have a second on that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna vote, please?
Rothwell.
Yes, as amended.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent,
As amended, yes.
Aguirre.
As amended, yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 586.
Authorizes bow hunting for deer on town property at Enterprise Park at Calverton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-135-1-7.33, ETAL. Also, 1751 Sound Avenue, Calverton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-60-1-2, and Middle Road, Riverhead, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-80-2-10.1. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yeah, a quick shout out to the Wildlife Committee run by Pastor Jerry and Dave Coates, and I'm missing somebody, but anyway, the whole committee does a great job. They manage, not only do they hunt and cull the herd in these properties that are owned by the town, but they manage these properties as well, so that outsiders from outside of Riverhead are not in there, and they're not poaching, and they keep vagrants out, and they do a great job of managing these properties, and I just want to give them a shout out, but yes, is my vote.
Okay. Kent.
I think it is important to control the deer. We have a tremendous amount of deer, and certainly it's a problem with car accidents and you know, the deer ticks, and, you know, it is something that we have to work on, so I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 587.
Pays bills.
Yes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
I am going to excuse myself. I have a CAC meeting that I'm 5 minutes late for, but thank you
Okay.
and have a wonderful evening.
We have one on the floor.
Oh,
Yep.
oh, sorry.
I want to stick around for a little while, right?
Okay, give us the 30 seconds, we'll do
Okay.
it quick.
Can I read the title for you? Because Carol
Yes.
sent it to me. Okay, so this will be Resolution 588, approve special event Chapter 255 application for Jamesport Fire Department 5K, 10K run.
So moved.
Seconded.
Roll, please. Gotta get her out of here.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes,
The resolution is taken off the floor.
Now you have to vote on the resolution.
we have to
Now
vote,
you
one more
vote on the
second, we'll do it
resolution.
fast.
Not so fast.
Okay.
Okay, anybody want to move?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to,
Make a motion to take it,
so,
No,
Now we're
this is,
gonna-
no, this is to move it
The
for the vote.
resolution.
The vote.
yeah,
yep.
but you gotta read the title, because I don't have it.
You want me to read it again?
I don't
You don't
have
have
the
it.
title.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I know, we threw it together so fast.
Yep.
Approve special event, Chapter 255 application for Jamesport Fire Department 5K, 10K run.
Thank you very much to the Jamesport Fire Department. So moved. That's 20 years we've been
No,
doing
that's
this.
a move.
Yes. He moved.
Second.
Okay,
Second,
Yes.
okay.
okay.
All right.
Vote, please.
Rothwell.
Yes.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
This was my student. I vote yes.
Aguirre.
Yes,
Resolution adopted.
you're
We
excused.
did it.
Thank you, Diane, and this is going to conclude our resolutions for today. At this point, we're going to open it up to the public for comments on any other matter. And do any members of the public would like to be heard? Hello, how are you?
My name is Mary Beth Andrews.
Okay.
I live at 127 Church Lane in Aquabog. I'm very happy about the resolution to keep Aquabog a rural corridor, because that's what it is. And that's exactly why I'm here. As you know, I live on 127 Church Lane, around a very bad curve. My chief is here to witness this. This is my third town board meeting. I also went to the traffic and safety meeting. My problem is, I got here, you know, I went down Edgar Avenue, then I went down Hubbard, and they're both 30 miles an hour. We're still at 35. That has not changed. Last week, I took a little ride after our meeting and went down the boulevard. And if there was one advisory sign on the boulevard, there had to be 15 or 20 with reduced speed limits around curves, curve markings, and it's still not before my curve. There is no marking. Remember I thought they came that day? When they came back? Nothing. So there is no curve marking, there's no danger, there's no slow, and I still have the, we won't say what size mirror, across the street that I can see an inch of a car approaching before it hits me. I do notice that the school buses have changed their route. And no longer are they picking up the children across the street in front of their house. They're picking them up in front of my house. So they cross those children across the street. So when a car comes flying around the curve, which they do, they hit the back of the bus instead of the front of the bus. Smart move. And both of the buses are doing that for the two different children. So that must have been, I don't know what happened there, whether the children's parents got after the school, decided they didn't want to see their kids smashed to smithereens. It could be, I don't know. Also, we talked about possibly changing the trucking situation. Tractor trailers are going down there, cement trucks. I mean, it's a ghost room. We know that. I'm just hoping that we rectify this situation, because it's certainly, Church Lane is certainly not a rural corridor. And I'll be back. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say, I met with you at the house, and it's still a work in progress, and we sat together with the chief.
We spent an hour, and he said, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Your questions are more than valid, and your concerns, I should say, more than valid. We were there. We did see a lot, and Chief and I have made many notes, and there's an ongoing plan.
Monitoring the speed. I was going to ask you a question. Those speed things that say, you're doing 20, 30, 50, 40, does that have a memory? So you can get a printout of how many are over. And there is no such thing as a mirror, a camera that watches, like a trail cam, that watches them going across the line.
Chief, can you come to the mic? Because I think,
I'm
I
sorry,
know,
I'm-
sorry, but I feel like people will want
I
to
didn't
hear.
mean to.
I know people are paying attention actually to this issue because other people have brought it up to me.
But I can say from gathering at your house, there was no question in mind that everyone is crossing that line. It's a dangerous turn, and they're
Yeah.
making right turns.
Yeah, that
You
is a
have
bad
a problem with the drainage area, so your dry well is full, and so they're avoiding a puddle, and they are absolutely one after another going and crossing the
Okay,
double yellow line, so.
Okay.
Work.
And it is a cut through from
Yep.
Sound
Right.
Avenue down to 25. In the state of New York, we don't have any speed cameras yet, so, no legislation for speed cameras. Maybe New York City, actually, right?
I believe they do,
I think they
but-
did, but then I think they took it away, so.
Yeah.
But what do you think they're going, what is the plan for that, for Mary Beth's spot?
We're going to do signage, and then we're going to look at the truck route as far as weight limits on the road.
Good. All right, so,
It's gotten so much worse, in the, how many
Yeah.
thousand years I've lived there. And it's just, Ken realized that if I pull out of my driveway, even with the mirror, and I'm towing a trailer, I'm gonna be T-boned.
Yeah,
no, we don't want that.
It stinks.
Not Mary Beth.
That is a bad turn. And as far as the tractor trailers, I'm hearing that across town too, about lots of areas. I think as our town grows and as our traffic grows, it's something we have to think about because.
If it's coming to me to deliver hay, then it's a tractor trailer for me.
Right.
Right, local
But
deliveries.
it's not just going from Main Road to Sound Avenue,
Right.
because it's the quickest way between 2 points.
I do think we have a problem overall too with these tractor trailers
Right.
speeding through town.
They really got to go to 105, that would be the proper road for them to use.
All right, so the Traffic Advisory Committee and the chief, that's your expertise, so let us know, how you're rectifying her
We're gonna work
situation.
on it.
We're working
Okay.
on it.
We're
I'm glad
working
you're
on it, or
positive.
I'll be back.
Oh, no.
I want you back.
Oh, yeah.
We know that. You,
Thank you.
you take care, ma'am, and be safe.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, Takvi Turchin, Calverton. Very, very briefly, I have about 2 or 3 questions, comments. Question about CMA Mines activity. Can the board remark on the activity there at CMA Mines? I've been seeing no less than 3, are they 100,000 ton dump trucks filled with content leaving the property, and my question is, when was the last time that there was an on-site visit? Number 2, I have a comment about the acceptance of Resolution 574. I was remiss in not saying something earlier before the resolution, but I do just want to remain on record as saying that the acceptance of the resignation in September, now, today, of a zoning board of appeals member, after having already accepted the one application that was submitted, seems to me out of order. It also, I would request again that there be more open process and that more resumes and be looked at, just to increase the openness of the process. And after listening to the conversation or the discussion today, during the, before the vote, and listening to that Supervisor Aguirre said it was misplaced in your office, or that's not acceptable. It really isn't. I mean, if I misplace a piece of information, I understand, it's my personal responsibility, but you have a larger responsibility. And I've been noticing in this meeting today that there was another piece of paperwork that was also missing, someone admitted to missing, for Resolution 583. It was, our town attorney said something about the paperwork not being in its proper spot, and now you're doing something amended, or, that needs to be, that needs to improve.
With all due respect, the resolution just needed a number put in it. We have a procedure where we get the resolutions in a week ahead of time. In order to get it on for this meeting, my office put it in the queue so that it could be adopted, instead of putting it on for a later meeting and advancing it. The planning board hearing is on, the minutes are on the website, and that's, maybe I should have gone in and corrected it before the meeting today, but the substance of the resolution was there. It was a number, 090 or whatever it was that was missing.
Well, thanks for the clarification. I've been, for the business, for the meetings that I've attended, I've been hearing and observing that occurrence on things where templates are for one project, but they really were meant for another. It gets the feeling of constriction on our ability to trust the process. So I'm asking that just, there's always room for improvement, right? So maybe we could pay closer attention.
Typographical errors
I wouldn't
are-
condescend to me in that manner, thank you
No,
very much.
but I'm just trying to understand.
Well, I made it clear, I just would like more attention paid. So question 3 was Zoom for all. I think it's clear. The 2 PM meetings is my last comment. The 2 PM meetings, I was really able to carve it out and get it in here today. They're stifling our residents' voices. I don't see a change in that. I saw some 6 PM meetings this year. I can't even say there was a handful. Really ask and request, again, you consider that although there was lovely participation today, there's a lot more residents. They really want to be heard. They don't just want to watch on the TV, watch on their computer. They want to participate, have their voice heard. And there is a big difference between participating, not being equal to listening. Thank you very much.
I'm going to respond to once the CBA, and the town attorney can add to this, once somebody from the planning board submits their resignation and submits it to the chair and to anyone else that he wants to submit it to, that resignation is official as of that date. So if, if I was under the impression that it was at the clerk's office, I would assume that the chair, the person who knows that he was resigning and they spoke to, that it would have been sent. Once it wasn't sent, it was processed. It's not necessary. And I'm going to add, Bob, you looked up the resignation here, and the law and the process of the planning board. And can you just please say it? I know you sent me a memo on it.
It wasn't, first off, it was the zoning board.
The zoning board.
So just to be clear, the same comments were raised last Thursday at work session, and as I pointed out at the time, and I'll repeat myself, Public Officers Law, Section 31, provides for the manner in which resignation is to take effect. It requires that the notice of resignation be filed with the proper officer or body of the agency. I provided a follow-up to the board. I cited some cases, and as I pointed out in a 1930 case entitled Cassidy versus Wilkins, which is still good law, the delivery of the resignation to the proper officer takes effect immediately, and ipso facto creates a vacancy in office. In addition, as pointed out in a 1965 New York opinion from the Attorney General, under the Public Officers Law, Section 31, the acceptance of the resignation, once effective, is considered complete or self-executing, and therefore does not require any further action by the appointing body. We have always passed a resolution to, I think, memorialize the resignation and effective date of it, but it's not required by Public Officers Law to make the effective date of resignation.
It's good to have it archived, that's all.
Yeah.
So
Again,
just-
that's a good word, memorialize. It's not necessary to have a resolution, but, we did everything that we had to do, and the department knew, the ZBA knew that there was a resignation, the person left, he's not even here anymore, and the spot was full, and again, here we go, back and forth with making it appear that
Just by archiving it, it's just if somebody, I presume,
Yeah,
Google
right.
years later now, they'll be
Yeah.
able to locate and find out the person's
Well,
history
it's
when
been
they
done,
resigned.
so we move on.
Just the.
Well, whatever the
archiving.
law is, just
Doesn't
doesn't
have-
make practical sense to me to vote in a new person before the other person's resignation is accepted. But just to clarify, though, I think it was said that the clerk had it, but Diane, can you speak to that?
I didn't have it until like about a week ago.
Yes.
So that simply was not true.
It was assumed
The-
that it was sent to the clerk.
The clerk didn't have it.
Okay, it was assumed that it was sent to the clerk, but this, we have a new CBA person. We ratified the resolution, and we move on. I think we're just gonna move on from this, and everyone, be safe.
But I wanted to talk on one more thing. I just wanted to mention, it was very sad to hear the news about Hawk Woodson. I knew Hawk, Bob shaking his head. Hawk was always at every school event, right, Bob?
And he was a fixture down at the Stotsky Park for
Yep.
many, many years with Allied Optical.
I remember being at every football game, and he was always there. He was at
Smile.
he was always at the school things. He was always at town things, and he really did love our town. And then once I got in office, he used to come in and visit with me and visit with Jody across the hall. So certainly, Hawk will be deeply missed in our town, and I didn't want the meeting to end without mentioning him.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that smile that he had was, it was a great smile. And again, everyone, be safe. If you need any assistance, call our office, especially our seniors. We have a senior hotline. And I'm going to ask for a first and a second to close this town board meeting.
Make that motion.
So moved. Oh, second.
Second.
Only three of us
All
survived.
opposed, all in favor?
In favor.
So moved, and again, everyone, please be safe.